What's up, guys? Retro Gaming Guy here. So I have Yahel with me from Wrestling with Gaming, one of my absolute favorite YouTube channels. So thank you so much for joining me tonight. Really appreciate that.
Oh yeah, absolutely, man. Thanks for inviting me. Appreciate it.
Yeah, for sure. It's funny. We've exchanged emails. When I reached out to you for this, I realized I had emailed you a while back, like a year ago or so. So we've kind of exchanged emails here and there over a fairly lengthy period of time. But great to actually sit down and actually meet
Yeah.
you through here and do this. So just going to jump in here and just welcome everybody real quick. So thank you guys all for joining us tonight. Looks like there's 41 of you guys so far. We do have a giveaway tonight, so I did provide the link in the live chat. So up at the top, you guys can see that pinned up there. If you guys can't, just let me know because I'm over here on StreamYard and sometimes there is a little bit of a disconnect, but definitely want to dive in. I have a bunch of questions for you, Hel.
I may even have answers. We'll
Sweet. That would be a great way to hit this. All right, guys. So you started your channel when? You've been doing this for I think a little bit longer than me now. So when did you start out?
First video that was gaming related was 2016. Channel's been around since like 2006 or so, I think, when I used to just upload my mostly my wrestling matches back when I was wrestling on there. And then I don't know if you were around for like the first YouTube adpocalypse thing that happened,
I was not.
but well,
As a viewer, but
basically.
not. Yeah, I wasn't I've only been doing YouTube now for let's see, we're 3.5 years in now.
Oh, okay.
So
Yeah, yeah. This is like a
yeah,
while ago, man. So
yeah, yeah.
basically, long story short, YouTube got real sensitive about what kind of content was on channels, and it would like demonetize. They would demonetize an entire channel if they had anything that they found, unsavory or whatever. And for some reason, like professional wrestling was like too violent. So I didn't want my channel
Interesting.
demonetized. And honestly, it would confuse new people that would come to the channel and be like, "Oh, okay, wrestling, gaming history videos," and then I'd be like, "Why is this half naked man the next video on the channel?" So I ended up just removing them.
So when we were just sitting down prior to me hitting the live button here, you told me that you were formerly a professional wrestler. So
Mhm.
tell me a little bit about that because I didn't realize that until literally seconds ago. So
Yeah, I went to the Dudley Boys Wrestling School in Kissimmee, Florida, right outside Orlando in 2006, I think it was.
okay,
Um, maybe 2007. It's been a while. But yeah, I just before that I was in bands, and our last band we had like a big opportunity that our drummer like ruined for us, and so we were on hiatus, quote unquote. And
gotcha.
my buddy who was in the band, one of my best friends, Steve, he was a big wrestling mark. I was a big wrestling mark, and we always wanted to do it. So we're like, yeah, let's just go to Orlando and see if we can become professional wrestlers. And trained at the school for about a year, and then finally had some matches. But the school was wild, man, because like the strength and conditioning coach there is Dan Carr, who is the guy that created American Gladiators, basically. So
Okay,
he would just like set up these insane like drills, like stuff that they would never let him do out of safety concerns on TV. We would have to do,
wow.
basically.
So if it was too much for American Gladiators, which has a reputation for being just absolutely insane, then I can only imagine what that was like for you
But with no budget. But with no budget, you
with
know.
no budget. All right, all right. 3D.
He had like this one terrible drill where he would set up like two boxes for like box jumps facing each other. They're like touching, but box jumps, well, when you're gonna do them, you want like the box to like not move, ideally, right?
Right.
You
That would
yeah.
be helpful.
Well, so it was on like the slickest tile floor possible. There was no rubber stoppers, and basically two people would jump on the boxes facing each other, but you'd have to do it with like 40-pound dumbbells in each hand. And if you didn't both land at the same time, you'd end up kicking the box forward, and maybe you drive your person that you're doing it with the box into their shins, or maybe make them
Sure.
fall while they're holding 80 pounds worth of weight. So, just stupid stuff like that. That it's like, what are we doing here? What are we doing?
Wow. So you're taking bumps and strength conditioning. Interesting.
Yeah, yeah, it was
So
great
so what was
times.
it like then to so you worked directly with Bubba Ray and Devon then?
Yeah, yeah.
Or
Bubba, I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, no, no. I was gonna say I assume that it's their school, but I assume that they're hands on with that, or are
Oh yeah,
they?
yeah,
Okay,
they were really hands on. This is when they were in TNA, so they weren't in WWE
right,
at that point. So they had a lot more free time and.
right. The schedule is a little bit more accommodating to
Mhm.
your own
Yeah, man. So I
business
mean, the school
interests. Yeah.
exactly. So the school was open like 5 days a week, but I mean, some most weeks I would say they were there at least 3 times a week. A lot of times five. It just depended if they had tapings or maybe a pay per view that weekend or something.
Hmm.
But yeah, they were real hands on. Everybody loves Devon. He's like the sweetest man you've ever
Yeah.
met. Like
Yeah.
one of the nicest people I've ever met. Nobody really likes Bubba.
It's actually funny because this is the only week that I've ever done two live streams with guests, and so I had Tim on yesterday, who
Mhm.
has a story about Bubba. I had a story about
Oh,
Bubba. I
really?
actually met him. So I live in this really small town, but we have this big theater for concerts, and it seats like maybe like 10,000 people. So it's kind of a big thing in a small town. And I went down there to see Anthrax and Killswitch Engage, and ended up bumping into Bubba, and
Yeah,
he was
right up
really
his
good to
alley.
me. Yeah, so he was really good to me. Um,
Yeah,
Briefly
and
just
I don't
kind
know,
of
man. Maybe
interacted,
he's
but
mellowed out since then. I mean, I don't know.
sure. This
I,
was maybe
I doubt it.
2019, so but I'm not in his wrestling school, so
Exactly. I
it's
mean, he's a weird dude because it's like he's a as you saw in person, he's a very big man,
very
and
much so. Yeah,
you know he's obviously not like the leanest guy in the world, but you can tell he's strong. Like just
yeah,
when you see this dude, and yet he is, I would say, one of the most insecure men I've ever met in my life.
really,
Like it's so weird. Yeah, like he like will bully people around at the school and stuff, and
yeah,
like if you then like I know myself and a few other guys that I started late, dude. I started when I was like 27 wrestling.
okay,
So almost everybody said the school's like 19, 20 when you should be starting it.
sure,
I have a little bit more real world experience under my belt. And at one point I had to like go in the office and just, hey, can I talk to you for a minute? You know, I'm like, hey, I didn't come here. I didn't pay you 3 grand to like be taking advantage of blah, blah, blah. You know, give him like this big speech. And he's like, oh, that's exactly what I want to hear. I'm just like, what the fuck, man? Like, why are you? This is a business. What are you doing? Like,
yeah, yeah. That's probably not the best approach
yeah,
as a
yeah.
as a business owner. I mean, I get like, yeah,
But I will
agreed.
say, if somebody asked me if I would recommend, because now he has like a separate school, dude, it might be up in Connecticut.
He's up
Uh,
here, yeah, yeah.
yeah, and
I
Bubba
think
and
they
Devon has
both own. I think they own it, but I don't think that they're both together working. That was
well,
what somebody had told me.
yeah,
But
because Devon's still down here in Orlando, but
okay,
Florida. But if somebody asked me if I would recommend going to his school, I still would because he will teach you like the fundamentals, the psychology. He's a great trainer in that
hmm,
sense. You just gotta like have some thick skin and be able to deal with a bully and know when you got to tell him, hey man, what are we doing?
yeah, right, right. Well, I guess that teaches you another aspect of things too. But that's unfortunate that it was that sort of experience for you.
Yeah.
But he does seem knowledgeable, so at least you
Oh
can
yeah,
give
yeah,
give him credit there. I remember
absolutely.
seeing him, but it was interesting because you see him and you know who he is, but I wasn't sure because I literally bumped right into the guy, and I was like, is that Bubba Ray Dudley? Because he was wearing like nice dressy like jeans with dress shoes, but he had a hoodie on with like a Black Label Society cut. So it was just like the weirdest combination for an outfit.
That sounds like Bubba. Did he have like a chain, like an
Oh
actual
yeah,
chain link chain
yeah,
on?
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. But it was
yeah.
it
That
was like very like business casual, right into like full on Zach Wild biker get up. And then he had just like a I don't know like a dressier baseball cap on. So it was definitely
yeah, his sense of
off.
style is his own,
Yeah,
that's for sure, man. But
for
and you know,
sure.
and Bubba is like a really funny guy. I will say, like, once I had that like talk with him, and I know a few
Hmm.
other guys that had similar conversations with him. I mean, I never had another single issue with him. Um,
Okay,
so I don't know. Maybe it's some weird test he likes to do to people, or he thinks like this is teaching them to be tough or something. Like he was real obsessed in the mid 2000s with people being actually tough. It's like, dude, we're fake fighting,
sure.
man. Like how I mean, yeah, you
Right,
gotta be tough, but come on, man. We're fake
right,
fighting here.
right. For sure, for sure. Maybe that was his test, though, like you said, and he was just trying to
Yeah,
I don't know, see how far he could push people before they push
maybe.
back a little. Maybe that's what he was looking for. So maybe he had more respect for you as a result. of you
Well, that's
sitting
the thing.
down with
Like
them.
he wants you to stand up to him, but one of the things he mentioned was that I did it the right way by like waiting till after the class and like approaching him one on one and not making like a scene.
Right, right.
Because some other people had tried to make scenes like in the middle
Oh yeah,
of
I could
training, and it did
imagine.
not go well.
Yeah, yeah, I could see that being an issue. Were there any other wrestlers that you dealt with down there, either training with them or um, being trained by them?
Oh yeah. We used to have guys from TNA come in all the time. Samoa Joe came in a few times.
Okay,
And that guy is like, man, like you barely feel all his stuff looks really good, crisp. It looks like he's like at least being a little snug with you with the hits, but you like barely feel it. It's like light as a feather.
really?
Scott Steiner came in one day.
That sound just Scott Steiner in general just sounds like that's probably not going to be the same case.
Bro, everybody he didn't do a lot in the ring. I mean, he in TNA he was like extra huge, you know, extra roided up and not as mobile
Wow.
as he once was. Anyways, he was older, but he came in and
Yeah.
everybody, including myself, we were all a little scared. We were like, "Well, what is this
Yeah, I'd
gonna
be
be
scared.
like?" Yeah. And but nah, he was really cool, man. He was really funny. He basically worked with us more on technique for some suplexes and throws and talked some psychology. You know, he like gave some feedback on promos too. He told us a bunch of stories. So he was super cool. PD Williams, I know he doesn't wrestle anymore. I think he works like backstage in WWE now. He came by. Sometimes WWE guys would come by too. Tommy Dreamer came by a few times.
Okay.
Eric Bischoff came by at one point.
Oh, nice.
Uh, and I don't know. He just had like terrible feedback for everybody, just like real generic feedback.
Yeah,
Like he didn't want to be there. I wouldn't
sure.
blame him. But
Yeah. Was that his while he was with TNA at that point in
yeah.
his career? Okay. Okay.
Well, actually, I don't know if he had joined TNA or maybe he was going to or something like that. It's hard to
Gotcha.
say because like I left the school or I stopped like popping into the school right around the time he joined. So I don't want to like misremember it, but there were guys that would like just be in town anyways,
Yeah,
and you know they're friends above us, so they would pop by
sure.
regardless of whatever company they were with or if they were with no one.
Right, right. Makes sense. And TNA was filming in Florida at that point in time too, right?
Yeah, Universal
Okay. All right. I don't know if they're still
Universal
there. I
Studios
don't.
for those stuff.
Gotcha.
I don't think so. I think they were like in Canada because I think a Canadian company owns them now. So I think they
Oh,
mostly film out
okay.
of there. I could be wrong.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'm out of the loop on most of the stuff. Like I just recently started following wrestling a little bit more again. I would say like within the last 6 months, even. I always try to keep somewhat informed on everything,
Mhm.
but yeah, it's just like there's wrestling on every night now. It's just too
Dude,
much for me to stay
there's
up
so
to.
much to follow. Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, like I watched Mania. I think I heard in the interview you did the other day that you had watched Mania as well, and
yeah,
um, I think it was the interview with Tim. Was it Tim that brought it up? Because I
Tim.
think he was a
Yeah.
wrestling fan, right?
Yeah,
Um,
it's funny, and for the viewers, I had no idea that either of these guys were. For you, I figured you were a wrestling fan with the name of your channel, but it seems like we always end up with some wrestling content in here, and I am a an old school wrestling fan, but I had no idea that Tim was a wrestling fan, that you were a pro wrestler, so it just kind of worked out that way.
yeah, it's great. You know, I always felt like wrestling's more popular than people think it is in general.
For
You
sure,
know,
and
or at least
I think now too that people aren't like so closeted with it. Like you used to not really lead with that. If you were watching wrestling, you
mhm.
kind of kept that to yourself for at least a
Yeah,
period
yeah,
of
yeah,
time.
yeah.
Now I feel like it's much more, I don't know, much more mainstream, and I feel
Yeah,
that even more in the last year or so. I think The Rock coming back made a big
sure.
impact on that, but
Yeah,
it's definitely been kind of in the works for a while.
yeah, yeah,
So,
totally agree.
but
But I
let
don't
me,
really watch like every week either.
yeah,
Like I'll
same
catch
thing,
clips on YouTube and stuff. Like, or I'll read the
exactly.
results if something sounds good, or
Hmm.
like or that I should go out of my way to watch. Then I'll watch it. But
Sure,
yeah, like I can't do 3 hours Monday Night Raw and then like
yeah,
2 hours of Dynamite on Wednesday. And then like there's like SmackDown's another 2 hours and Rampage is an hour. You know, there's like
it's
6 or
too
7
much. Yeah,
hours
yeah, for
like
sure.
every week. Man,
it's
I
a
got I
big
got videos to be late on making.
e- exactly. That's where I'm at. I'm filming like almost every night, editing. Yeah, that's I'll watch like the little clips on YouTube. It's
Yeah.
about as far as I go. Or Peacock, if there's like a big, headline on
Yeah,
Peacock's
yeah.
like a little highlights section, then I'll check that out. But yeah, that's about as much as I can. And it's too bad because as a kid, I would have loved to have wrestling on every single night of the week. But
Yeah.
it's one of those things. It's tough
As an adult,
to keep up
especially
with.
if you have like a family or whatever.
Exactly. That's my life. It's tough enough to just juggle the stuff that I've committed to here on my channel alone. So,
Yeah. And
all
I
right.
don't
So I
even have
wanted
kids, so I don't even have that excuse.
yeah, it gets even tougher with kids. I've got 3 kids and they're different ages
Oh
too.
wow.
So yeah, it's a challenge. But I created this little studio space in my basement, which is nice because I'm a couple floors down from them. So that does help, but they know where to find me. So
Wow, man, you put out a lot of
yeah,
content for
yeah, yeah,
not having excuse me, for having kids and stuff. That's
yep,
tough, man. Kudos. How
yeah.
did
I
you get
mean,
started doing your stuff? Because like I had like found your channel coincidentally just because I was like looking to set up a mini PC, like a dedicated mini PC for retro gaming. I have
mhm,
like every console imaginable, but it's a pain like getting them out, connecting
yeah,
them, and blah blah
for
blah blah
sure.
blah. And
Yep,
for most of the stuff, emulation's fine for me. I know some people like will be like, oh well, this isn't quite the right frame rate for blah 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 blah. I'm like, whatever, it's fine. It's a platformer
sure.
from 30 years ago. I'll be fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyways, and that's how I came across yours, and then I ended up just like binging it. And then actually I watched so many of your videos that I was like so unsure of what to even get because it was like too much information. I was like, oh man, I don't know. And
Yeah.
then I did end up getting I think the Surf 5 is what I
Okay.
ended up
Yeah. Yep.
getting.
That's a solid
But
option. Yeah.
yeah.
I review now that's like, and you're probably watching a few months back when it wasn't like my main
Yeah,
thing.
this is
Like
like a few months back. Yeah.
now I'm like the mini PC review guy. So it's funny what the algorithm sort of like pushes you towards because I do so much better with views on that type of content. So naturally that's, what you gravitate towards. But yeah, with mini PCs, it's tough because now I feel like it's even harder because there's so many great options. A couple years ago, or even honestly, like even like 8 9 months ago, there weren't that many options. Now we're seeing stuff come out like it feels like almost on like a bi-weekly basis.
Hmm.
So yeah, I was just reviewing one last night, and the video will come out tomorrow on another one from Minis Forum, which is becoming the best option out there. But B-Link is still, it's been around the longest, so that's always a solid option. So
Yeah, I
yeah,
ended up
what?
just throwing Batocera on there and loaded it up with my very legal ROMs, my very
Yep,
legal
there,
backups that I personally
there you
made of
go,
my
there you
games.
go.
And
You ripped them
then
yourself, so you're good. You're good.
yeah, yeah. And funny enough, I run it through like a RetroTink 4K because I do like the whole like CRT emulation from that, and the slot masking
Sure.
looks
Yep.
really nice. So yeah, and I mean the only time I really pull out a console to play is if I want to play something on the CDI, I have to pull that out.
Sure.
But and I do have a Neo Geo, and that I don't know if it's because it was so expensive, but I do feel like there's a difference when I play on Neo Geo hardware versus emulated. But that's probably just me justifying the expense of the Neo
Sure.
Geo.
That's that's true. But no, Neo Geo is one of those funny ones. There are some ones with emulation where it's not 100%, and then there's some that I think are, in some cases even better than original hardware.
Hmm.
So it definitely depends. But there's little minor details in Neo Geo that I can definitely see what you're saying with. But yeah, there's always going to be people that I think will always prefer original hardware.
Sure.
But when I want to jump into a game, I want to jump into it right then and there. If I have to pull out all these cables and adapters to bring it to a modern day TV, by the time I do half of that, I don't even want to play anymore.
Exactly.
I think
Exactly.
it's more convenience and inconvenience. I'm okay with some things not lining up perfectly. So
Right.
and I think a lot of people feel that way about, emulation.
Yeah.
So it doesn't have to be perfect, but
Yeah.
there's some emulators that suck, like the Xbox One. It's good at what it's good at, and then there's a lot that it just, falls flat with. So I have an original Xbox console that I'll, keep,
Yeah.
on hand for
But
for those
I
games.
bet in 5 years or so that stuff will be just as solid as what we see with
Oh
like
yeah.
16 and 32-bit, at least the 2D
Yeah.
stuff on that generation of consoles. But yeah, I mean, I've even played with some stuff on oh man, what's the name of the 360 emulator? I know there's a couple. Xenia,
Hmm.
and it runs well, the few things I tried on there, like most of it, it ran pretty well. You'd get some hiccups here and there, but nothing that
Yeah.
made it unplayable, except for like there was one game that was just like atrocious. But anyway, it's crazy, man. Like I would have never thought, like when I was like a teenager, like I'll be able to just like have all these games, like
All in one sort of feel to it. Yeah, for sure. And yeah, Xbox 360, it's not bad on Windows, but if you try to do it through Batocera, it's a different experience for most of the titles. There's some that actually do run pretty well, but it's very hit or miss through Batocera, I've found.
oh, really?
So
See, with this mini PC, I'm basically only loaded up through Dreamcast, and
okay,
I do have a few PS2 titles on there, but um, like I just said to myself, well, anything beyond that, I'll probably just play on actual hardware for now, just to
yeah,
not deal with is this going to run? Is this not going to run? Is it going
right,
to
right.
run, 70% of the game and then oops, can't finish?
Yeah,
I
yeah,
don't
yeah.
even
And
want to
that's
deal with that stuff. So
yeah, there's nothing worse than that happening. PS2 should be good on that mini PC though, and I think that PS2 has come a long way. I've noticed actually recently, and I have to look into it more to figure out why, but I've noticed that PS2 is running really smooth on stuff that it wasn't running smooth on like 6 months ago. So I don't know if the
mhm.
emulator has changed things. I have to dive into that a little bit more. It's been on my list of things to do, but the tedious things like that end up, getting lower and lower on my list
Mhm.
of things that I want to tackle. So yeah, definitely. But I'm glad that that content helped you out there. And it's
Oh
funny,
yeah,
I
yeah.
remember because YouTube has a way of just showing you like your new subscribers that have massive followings. So when you
Mhm.
came across there, I barely watch anybody on YouTube. I've recently, in the last few months, changed that and tried to like start watching new upcoming channels and stuff like that. But to have your name come across with like 109,000 subscribers at the time, I was like, wow, that's awesome because you're the only fucking YouTuber that I actually watch. That was pretty cool.
Oh,
So
thanks, man.
no, it couldn't have worked out better. And I think that's when I reached out to you and was like, hey, this guy's watching my stuff. Maybe he'll respond to me. And you did. You responded like right away. So
Yeah.
really appreciate that. But yeah, so you do, and I want to make sure everybody actually checks out your channel because it's phenomenal. And I've said that so many times over, but it really is. Like, I'm a huge fan of documentaries and documentary style content, and that's exactly what you do on your channel. So, when did you start doing all of that stuff on your channel? Because we talked about the wrestling, past that you
Yeah.
actually had on the channel, which I have to go and check out because I have not seen that.
Well, I mean,
But
there's no matches on on this channel
oh, there's
anymore.
not. Okay,
There's I have another channel called WWG After Dark that has a few, and I mean, some other
okay.
channels have my matches up on them, but London Vice was the name I wrestled under.
London Vice. Okay,
I did not really pick it, but got kind of
okay,
stuck with it. But anyways, yeah, 2016 is when I uploaded my first video, and it was on the Bleem emulator.
okay.
Uh, and it was just like the only reason the reason why I did it is like I mean I had been wanting to make some content, and my inspiration was Gaming Historian. I just thought his stuff was like
Great
so
channel.
well done, so good.
Yeah.
And oddly enough, today he like posted a tweet that he's not going to do YouTube full time anymore. That he's gonna uh, just kind of do it more as a hobby again. But uh, his stuff was so good that it made me want to. It made me want to do something that good one day, or hopefully, or aspire to. I'm not
Hmm.
trying to compare myself to him, but and I went looking for like more information on Bleem on YouTube, and I just didn't find like any videos that I thought were covering it like really well. So I was
Right.
like, you know what? I'll just make my own video about it, and it did pretty well. So I'm like, all right, well, I'll make another video because I've always found like gaming history fascinating.
Right.
So and then that one was well received, and I'm like, all right, well, I'll make another one. It just kind of like every couple of
Yes.
weeks, it was just like, all right, and yeah, it just kind of happened like that.
Awesome. So it's just one thing leads to another sort of that's I think that's how it was with me too. When I started doing tutorials, it was like people would do tutorials like I got into emulation mainly through RetroPie during the pandemic just to as just something to get into to keep myself
Sure.
somewhat sane. And I noticed that people were doing these really in-depth tutorials on all these advanced things and they weren't doing like the most basic things like
Mm-hmm.
how to turn a Raspberry Pi on, like how to connect to Wi-Fi. Like they would say, well, you want to do this, 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 and this first, and then they'd pick up a tutorial, from that point. And it's like, well, how do we do all those things that you said we, need to
Yeah.
do in order to get to where you're starting? So I started doing really simple, like stupidly simple stuff. And people appreciated it because they were like me, like I didn't know what to even do with a Raspberry Pi, single board
Yeah.
computer. So yeah, one thing has sort of led to another, but you've done some really in-depth stuff. So what is it like? What's your time frame on a video? Because I'm looking at you must be writing out scripts because it can't be off the cuff. Like my stuff, I'll just kind of throw stuff together, and then after I've done like 20 takes, it starts to be kind of seamless after a while. I feel like you have to have scripts in your
Oh yeah, yeah. I definitely
videos,
have
right?
scripts. I don't know if you can see
Okay.
it back there. My teleprompter's back there somewhere.
Oh,
Um,
okay. Well, that makes
but
that would make it a little bit easier, I suppose, to get
yeah,
through all
yeah.
the takes because
I,
I'm
I
I'm
used to not. I used to not, but I think with starting with my no, the X-Band video, I still wasn't using teleprompter. I would like literally just like on my laptop have whatever segments. I would edit most of the video, right? And then be like, okay, these are the parts where I'm gonna be on camera, and then I would record those parts and just kind of memorize it and the thing and then do it from memory.
sure.
But that's like a really stupid way to do it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I definitely like write out a script. I'm sorry, let me actually answer your question. You asked like how long it usually takes me to do a video, basically.
Yeah.
It depends on the video, topic, the length of it. Like this last video, on the Game Boy, it's a 40-minute video, and a lot of it is like CG animation.
Yeah. For sure.
I'm not really on camera like that much in it, so that took a really long time. That one took. I know I started editing. I recorded the on camera stuff January 23rd. I know that, and then the next day
Okay.
I started editing it. So from January 24th to like April 7th or something like that, whenever I released it, like I was editing up to like the day or two before. So like almost 3 months on that one, but then the research took a few months as well, just because I had found some, I had like most of it, a lot of it done, but then I found out about this book that had firsthand interviews, and then I couldn't get my hand on the book, and then I could only get it in French,
I
which I can,
remember you mentioning that. Yeah.
yeah, which I can kind of read a little bit, but it's a big pain. And then thank God, like another YouTuber I know, like he like sent me like his Spanish version, and I'm fluent in Spanish, so I was like, okay, I
Oh,
can
so that was a major
deal with it.
shortcut then, not having to
Yeah,
translate the other one.
and then, dude, all I really needed to do apparently was reach out to the author, because I ended up while making the video, ended up talking with him, and he's
Okay.
like, "Oh yeah, I've got an English version coming out." And it's so funny, dude, because the guy, I think first he was like, he heard I was gonna use stuff from his book, and he was afraid that I was gonna, because I guess he's had issues with YouTubers using stuff from his book and claiming it as their own research, which is
Oh, yeah.
dumb. Like, or is
Yeah.
somebody going to think I flew to Japan to talk to these
Yeah.
people for YouTube? You
I
know,
suppose if it was about something maybe different than that, but yeah, that
yeah.
that one
So,
wouldn't.
yeah. So he didn't ask me to give him credit. Well, I mean, don't get me wrong. He wanted to be given credit, but he wasn't expecting to be given credit to the extent that I gave him credit in the
Sure.
video, which is what I would have done anyways, even if I hadn't talked to him. I had already recorded like all the lines, all the stuff. But
Sure.
he ended up the other day sending me like a copy of a chunk of the book in English to like proofread for him. So I like he had these proofs the whole time. I could have just like been like, "Hey man, can
Yeah.
I just get it in English?"
Well, that
But
would have been way more efficient, but
yeah.
oh well.
But if it's like a video that's like a little more straightforward, let's say like a 10-15 minute video, and there's already a lot of information on it out there,
Sure.
I can knock out the research, within a week, let's say week to 10 days. It just really kind of depends on what it is. And then the editing, that might be another couple of weeks. It could be just a week. It really depends. Do I
Yeah.
need to create 3D models for it? Are there enough 3D models out there that I can use under Creative Commons or whatever,
Makes
or
sense.
even buy? So it really depends on that stuff. So I've had videos, dude, where I can knock them out like in a couple of weeks, like research and editing. But that was also like way before I got better at editing. So
Sure.
It'd be
Well, your
pretty tough.
editing is phenomenal. I mean, your transitions, the
Thanks, man.
special effects that you bring into the mix. I mean, it really is top notch. It looks like, something that you would see on Netflix. It
Thanks,
doesn't
man.
look like your typical YouTube content, which, my editing skills are, not advanced by any means. But I've seen YouTubers that have, no editing, it seems. And,
Yeah.
it doesn't necessarily reflect, your popularity or anything. But, that's what we grow accustomed to seeing here on YouTube. And your stuff is just light years beyond that. So,
Thanks, man.
well,
Oh, if you don't mind, somebody in the chat,
yeah.
Perfect Storm Gaming, they had asked if I do all my own CGI animations, and yeah, I mean it's all me. And I've had like people sometimes like in the chat or in the chat in my videos comment stuff like, "Oh, your team, the team behind this channel did a great job," which is like a nice compliment in a way that they think that there's so many people. But
A
I'm also
little
like, "No, damn it, it's
backhanded,
just
though.
me. It's me."
I mean, it,
So
it, it
it's a
seems
nice
like, but
compliment, but
it is. I think it's definitely intended to be a compliment, but I can see how it has a little,
yeah, yeah. Oh no, I
backhandedness
don't
to
take
it.
it. Yeah, I mean, I don't really get upset by it
Yeah,
or
yeah.
anything. And they asked what programs do I use. All of my videos before this one, the 3D stuff was in Cinema 4D. That's not true. I use Blender a little bit for an animation in the GoldenEye video, but then starting with the Game Boy video forward, it's all going to be Blender because it's free and you can really do anything you can do in Cinema 4D in Blender. So
Sure. I'll have to check that out because you have just an amazing assortment of tools, obviously, to make that happen. But you mentioned the GoldenEye video. That is my favorite video that you've done. I've watched that probably
oh,
10
thanks,
times
man.
over because I love the game. I love I really have always been a 007 fan, especially with
Hmm.
games. And it's kind of like that with wrestling, too. And I think that's why there's so many both 007 fans that are also gamers, but also wrestling fans that are gamers, too. It just goes together perfectly and has for decades.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah,
So
totally agree. Totally agree.
is that one of your favorite 007 games? Is that what made you want to do that video?
Yeah, I mean, what's funny is like so I had to like play, quite a bit of it while doing the video. And it it still is one of my favorite 007 games, but a lot of it has to do, with the memories of like doing those big four player, like
Yeah.
all night like sessions with your friends, and
The
yelling at each
multiplayer on
other.
there was just phenomenal too. I think it
Yeah,
was
yeah.
ahead of its
And it was
time,
so novel, when it came out.
for
It was
sure.
such a like novel thing. So yeah, mostly because of that. I mean, does it really hold up gameplay wise? I mean, eh, it's
No,
all right.
I agree. And I think that's how it is with retro gaming though. There's so many times where I'm like thinking back to playing a certain game and then when I get into it on emulation, I'm like, well, this doesn't hit the same way that it did, 25 years ago because it's the memories that really bring it all together for you. I think it's just it takes you back to a different time in your life,
Yeah,
um, probably a time that you had less responsibilities, less stress for sure. So that's always a win. But yeah, it's sometimes not so much about the actual game, for us that
yeah,
are retro gamers.
yeah.
So
And nostalgia is a powerful drug, right? Like, I mean, it
oh
like
yeah,
shades our memories and makes us remember things better than they were sometimes. Like, dude, the other day I was watching some video on YouTube where somebody had posted like it was like a blooper reel for some show or something, and they had the UPN logo like
hmm
from that Paramount network from back in the day, like in the lower right hand corner. I was like, damn, I've got nostalgia for the UPN logo. Like,
yep, yep.
this is not good.
It's true, right? It's true. But you're spot on with that. I mean, there's so many things that just seem better, the memory of them. And
Yeah.
wrestling's like that for me sometimes. Like I grew up a huge WCW guy, and then going back
Mhm.
and watching a lot of that stuff, I
It's
watched and
rough.
I'm like, what? Yeah, like some of it's really good, but a lot of it's
Mhm.
not. A lot of it, like I think back, or I was at least thinking back, as like '98 was like this wonderful time for WCW. And I was watching like a Nitro, and I was like, this is unbelievably terrible in so many ways. With like big names too, like Ric Flair had some crazy stuff that just made no sense. Which,
Like when he
I
was in
mean,
the insane asylum. I think that
that's what
was
I was
like 98,
watching. That's
99. Yeah.
that's what I was watching, and
But
they
he was still
they
the president, right? Somehow.
Yeah, it was when Roddy Piper had come in, and yeah, it was literally that's crazy. It was literally that episode that I was watching, and they opened the show with that where he's in the loony bin and he's hitting on the nurse, and they have and
Yeah.
my wife actually came in when I was watching it, and she was just like, she knows who Ric Flair is, but she was like, "What
Uh,
are you? What is this?"
she's like,
And I
"Who did
mean,
I marry?"
oh yeah, oh she's had that question quite a few times over the last few years, but yeah, it was. I was just, taking it all in like, wow, my memory is that this was, the best childhood. And I probably should have been switching over to whatever network,
Yeah.
Raw was on at the time.
Because at that, like, once the NWO stuff kind of ran its course,
And yeah,
WCW just wasn't the same, unfortunately. But I will say, dude, like me and my buddies, I'm still like really good friends with several guys from my class at the Dudley Boys Wrestling School, and sometimes we'll get together and we'll literally throw on like the worst episode of WCW Thunder we can find and just laugh at some of the stuff. Like there's one where I want to say this is like 99, maybe even like 2000. So real close to the end for WCW, where
yeah.
like Sid Vicious is feuding with Goldberg, and Sid Vicious is at the end of the show. He comes out of the arena to go to his rental car to like leave, and the rental car's been flattened. Like at a I just at a
I
junkyard. It's
remember that
literally
one.
like,
Yeah.
and he jumps on the car. He goes, Goldberg, Goldberg, like it's a freaking movie or something. It's so stupid, but it's hilarious. But is it really good? Not really.
No,
Not
no,
really.
no, no, no. Latino Heat remembers it. There you go.
Oh, why? Yes, that's what he yells. Why? And Perfect Storm had also asked, but if there anything to do animations like that on your phone? I don't know. To be honest, it's one of those things. And I should mention, so I use Blender just for the 3D modeling and animation. You can do video editing in Blender, but I don't know how to do that. So I'm still using Premiere for my video editing, and so basically I'll model out like a scene in Blender, do the animation. I'll drop in my audio into Blender so I can time it out right with the audio, render out that clip in Blender, and then drop that into Premiere, and then do the editing in there. And sometimes I'll do some stuff in After Effects, like if it calls for it. But yeah, it's basically those three programs.
Yeah, Perfect Storm Gaming, you do a lot of stuff on your phone, and I don't know how you do that, but it's impressive because he has some really good edits. But
It's probably
yeah,
younger than us. That's probably
he's not though. He's old. Well, yeah, no, he's older than both of us. I'm pretty sure. How old are you?
I don't, dude. I'll be 44 in a few months.
Damn, I would. Okay, so I wouldn't have guessed that. I was thinking like 37, 38. So,
Nah,
all
nah,
right,
I'm
so
dying.
he's older than you too. But yeah, I don't know how he does it because I do my thumbnails on my phone, and then I have to like bring them up on my PC, and then I notice that like the borders are all out of whack, and then I have to
Mhm.
kind of tweak it there. But yeah, he does a really advanced stuff for what a phone is capable of. So
Yeah, I've never done any editing on CapCut. I mean, I've done like some very light basic editing, like joining a couple clips if I want to, like, I don't know, toss something up on TikTok or a reel or whatever, like
mhm,
to promote a video. But like real video editing, like I've never like really tried on my phone.
yeah,
I think that would drive me nuts, man. I'm a bit of a perfectionist, and I
yeah.
feel like I wouldn't have enough control on a phone.
That's
But I could be
what it
wrong.
is for me. It's just I struggle to see everything accurately on there, but I could bring it up on my tablet too. But I don't know. I'm stuck in my ways. I can't get out
Yeah,
of my own way in a lot of the things that I do. I just know that there's more efficient ways to do it, but I'm used to doing it a certain way, so I stick with that.
yeah,
Like I had people help me do thumbnails for a little while, and I couldn't work with people. They did better work than me, but like my schedule is so bizarre that I'm just better off doing things myself and sticking to my own
yeah.
schedule, I
And,
suppose.
and
But
and there's something too to like, because I've had like a lot of people with good intentions like offer to help with um
sure,
either writing or with like color grading or just with random stuff like
yeah,
sound mixing, blah blah blah. And it's not that I don't appreciate that, and I'll listen to anyone's feedback that's knowledgeable.
hmm
But I think there's something to learning it yourself and doing it yourself. Like I've had people like, it's funny. I've had people like offer to edit for me, and like they'll DM me, and it's like I can tell they've never watched any of my content because it's like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, you do 3D modeling. It's like they're not gonna do anything close to like what I'm doing. Not because they couldn't. It's just time consuming. You know, they're just not gonna do
Oh
it.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, I don't know. I wish I could outsource some stuff like that. I would let go of a few things
Yeah.
just to like make things easier on me, especially now that I'm. I don't know if I told you, but I'm actually gonna do YouTube full time now going forward. So the one thing I'm considering maybe easing up on a little bit is there's a guy, Ethan. He runs a blog called The History of How We Play, and he's like a really good gaming historian. Occasionally he'll do a video, but that's not really like he does real research. He's not really
Yeah.
interested in being a YouTuber, and
Hmm.
he's actually co-written a few of gaming historians videos. So I might partner with him on some stuff, but even then, I don't think I could like have somebody write a whole video for me.
Right, right.
That,
Well, if you
that'd be
kept it
weird.
as more of like a casual collaboration, that could definitely work. Yeah, I mean, there's tedious things that I mean, there's the majority of being a YouTuber. I feel like is a tedious process, and
Uh-huh.
sometimes some days you just like you can't do it. So, yeah, I think there's always room for somebody else to help you out, but it just comes down to I don't know. I think that why I love YouTube so much is that it is just my own space, my own bubble, and I can work weird
Mhm.
hours, and I do. And it's all me, and I kind of like that. I've tried to work with others, and just I don't know, it isn't for me. So I like doing this sort of collaboration where I bring people on and I get to chat and all that. But and I love the live streams. I recently started doing these because people were asking me to, and I just thought I would never do it because I hated the vibe in so many other people's live streams. But
Mhm.
these people are pretty awesome here, so it's been a good time. Plus, there's no editing at the end of this, so
Yes,
I can
that's
mess up, but it is what it is. Because sometimes I'll film the same thing over like 30 times, and then I'll go back and in the editing process, I go with the first take, and then I'm just
dude,
like sitting
that's
here
like
like,
isn't that like you're so annoyed. You almost wish that you hadn't done as well in the first take as you actually did.
yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. I just
I've
did that
had
the
that
other day.
happen.
I had honestly it was probably like 22 minutes of footage and I ended up using the first 2 minutes of it and I was like I literally have to cut all of this off that I was filming at like 3 in the morning with and I was getting like super pissed off because I kept messing it up and I'm
Mhm.
like and the first one was better than the last one. So yeah,
Yeah.
that happens all the
I
time.
mean, that's partly why part of the reason why I got a teleprompter. You know, like these scripts,
That's
like
what
I
I
was
needed
working
to.
on. Yeah, because like I want to be like precise and I want to be accurate in my videos.
Hmm.
Not that I've never gotten anything wrong, but because of that, I that's another reason why I want to use the teleprompter just to make sure I'm not like accidentally saying I don't know the wrong megabyte, the wrong clock speed if I'm talking about a CPU or whatever. I don't know, just whatever. Maybe I mix up a Japanese name with a different one or whatever. I don't want to do any of that. I want my stuff to be as accurate as possible. Like one thing I really irks me about the retro gaming like YouTube scene is that there's some people that will just like spout. They'll read a Wikipedia article and they'll make a video that's like verbatim, just like they rewarded the Wikipedia article, but they didn't like check any of the information in the article. And there's
Sure.
plenty of Wikipedia articles with like bad information. I don't think it's a bad place to start your research to go get some references. Like if you
Yeah.
want to go to Wikipedia to start your research, what I would recommend, go to Wikipedia and then go all the way down, see what the
Yeah.
references are, and
Exactly.
then because stuff gets taken out of context in Wikipedia
It
all
does.
the
Yeah, you're
time,
right.
and it'll be incorrect. So I don't even know where I was going with this.
Well, plus anybody can edit Wikipedia too.
Yeah,
It doesn't always get up there. Sometimes it gets caught and stuff, but I have seen some like wild stuff on
yeah,
Wikipedia that is just totally completely off. So
yeah,
yeah, you definitely have to but I mean that's the internet in general now. It's crazy how much misinformation is out there, and we're talking just across any sort of category or topic.
yeah.
Um, the
Well, dude,
internet
it's because
can
like if somebody if one person of authority, this is where I was going with this. If one person of authority on YouTube like says something that's wildly inaccurate, I won't name names, but a pretty decent sized YouTuber a few years ago said that like made some comment on his Dreamcast video about how the Dreamcast had native 1080p support the day it launched. Just something wild. It was like, what?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
meanwhile, he's using like an adapter to get 1080p out of it. So it's I'm like, what are you talking about? Anyways,
Yeah.
and later, but because he was a big YouTuber, like people started thinking that, and
Yeah.
like a few months later, in a video that I had made that had nothing to do with the Dreamcast, two people are in the comments. They're having their own discussion in my comment section, and the Dreamcast somehow comes up, and then one guy says, "Yeah, I had 1080p natively, blah 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 blah," and like now that's fact, you know. And I'm
It's,
just
I
like,
mean,
oh,
this is why they call it influencers, right? I always hated that name too. Like people will say, "Oh, so you're an influencer." And I don't know, something about that. I just hate
yeah,
the
I don't
term
even like
influencer.
content creator.
I use that one because I feel like the alternative is influencer, and especially because I do a lot of review stuff. So I think that kind of
Mhm.
makes me a influencer. But I hate that term so much. What term do you prefer then? If
I
content
mean, don't
creator is
get me
not
wrong.
it,
I use content creator sometimes too, but
I
these
feel
days
like
there's
it's
some.
neutral and you don't come off as like arrogant or I don't know. It
See,
just
so part of the reason why I don't like content creator is because there was a time where when I started in 2016, it wasn't as content creation wasn't quite as prevalent. So I did feel like it sounded, I don't know, like I'm trying to be better than or something. Like, oh,
yeah
I'm a
yeah
content
yeah
creator. Yeah, I'm an artiste.
yeah
Uh,
yeah. I
but
gotcha.
sometimes I'll just say like YouTuber, which is like the lowest sounding
Yeah.
form of content creator, to be honest. But the
I
thing
feel
with
like YouTuber though, like to different people it means different things. Like
that's true.
when I thought YouTuber, I thought of like prank videos and like that type of content.
Makes
So
sense. Makes sense.
yeah.
But content creator now can mean different, something a little spicier to a lot of people these days.
This
So
is true. This is true. This is true.
I'm just gonna start saying I'm a gaming historian. I'm a
There you go.
gaming documentarian or something
There you
stupid.
go. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like even podcaster sounds better, and that's not at all what I would ever identify as. I mean, I only recently started doing even live streams, but I feel like that is something that people identify as like normal. Whereas you're right, content
Mhm.
creator can be misinterpreted very easily
Yeah,
for some
yeah.
people. Yeah. So you mentioned before TikTok. Are you on multiple platforms? Because that's something that I've always struggled with. I had success here and I pretty much just stayed here. I
Yeah.
never branched out, never tried to do well, I do have accounts, but I do absolutely nothing with them. So,
I mean, to be frank, that's mostly me too.
mm,
I've got a Twitch. I think I've streamed twice
okay.
on it.
Okay.
I do have a TikTok account. I mean, I did post like a little trailer for my Game Boy video on there, and I think maybe like one other like preview video, and an interview of Mike Tenay that he did in WCW to Stacy Keebler, where he's like basically yelling at her for getting pregnant. So, that, that's what you can expect on my TikTok crap
Okay.
from
All right.
WCW. And like every once in a while, like if I've got a video coming out, I might post a reel about it. But yeah, I mean, I don't have like a lot of followers on those platforms. I do use Twitter,
Okay.
but even that's like gotten pretty bad for like promotion, and it's a bit of
Mhm.
a, I don't know, it's a dicey area.
Sure.
But
Sure.
the one good thing, the one thing that Twitter is still good for, is I've got a lot of other retro gaming or content creator friends on there, so we keep in touch in there in group chats and that kind of thing. So
Sure. Yeah, I don't know. I don't see the risk versus reward just doesn't line up for all these other platforms. Like I have a friend that is on TikTok and she's got like 500,000 people on there, and we kind of just compared notes on what we're doing, and she makes like pennies on TikTok
mhm.
with 500,000. So she makes all her money on brand deals and stuff on like the back end of TikTok, but not from the platform itself. So I mean, that's just doesn't give me any incentive because not that I want to be rewarded with like a bag of money for doing content, but like if you're going to spend all this time and a lot of time goes into being a
Hmm.
content creator, you want to have like some,
Sure.
light at the end of the tunnel. So
Well,
I feel like
yeah,
YouTube takes care of their content creators, and they're fair. I mean, they're not perfect, but
sure.
I have no
I
complaints.
agree, dude. I know a lot of content creators on YouTube crap on YouTube constantly, like, oh, they're not paying me enough. They're doing this, they're shadow banning me that, like blah blah blah. But I mean, for the most part, YouTube is pretty fair.
Yeah.
Every
Yeah.
once in a while, there's some boneheaded decision, like in any corporation, but
Absolutely.
people like I don't know, like I am not a fan of like when YouTubers post videos saying like YouTube is hiding my content, blah blah blah. This is going, they'll post like a video complaining about YouTube because it's,
Yeah.
the average viewer, they don't care.
Right.
I'm a
Right.
YouTuber and I don't. I mean, it
Yeah.
sucks for the creator, and I feel for them because I get it. Like right now, my Game Boy video is like one of my poorest performing videos for how many days it's been out. But I mean, crying about it's not gonna make views appear on that
Right. Right.
video.
Right.
You
Right.
know,
For sure.
what can you do? And dude, let me ask you: have you had this happen where you post a video and it does okay, or it does the usual numbers, or maybe even poorly, and then like months later, inexplicably, it gets like a spike in views, and now it's got the
Yeah.
performance you wanted a few months ago?
Yes. And it's so bizarre because you
Yeah.
can't, sometimes you can trace, like maybe somebody shared it with, a large following, but a lot of times you can't figure out like what happened. Like I have a video that I at one point I was doing whatever review videos I could do. Now I'm super selective because I just don't want to waste my time on stuff that I don't think is going to be, popular with the viewers. But I did this one on a HDMI extender, and it was the first one. I've reviewed a couple products since then. The first one did, I want to say, 800 views, like out of the gate in the first 48 hours, which is fine. It's typical for like stuff that isn't a mini PC or like a
Hmm.
game drive or something like that, that is very specific towards what people are mainly interested in. And then like for me, I put out so much content that I track my videos for like 2 days and then they're done. I move on and I pretty much never look at them again because I'm just on to the next thing, which drives me a little crazy and I probably shouldn't do that, but whatever. That's my
I mean,
process.
honestly, I think that's probably like healthier, man. Because
Probably
uh,
because I don't get bent out of shape. Like if it is a total flop, I'll make note of it and maybe not do more content along those lines. But I don't dwell on anything. I just keep it moving. So this video though, it popped up in my, you get those little breakdowns of what is super popular in the
mhm,
last
mhm.
30 days or whatever. And it had like 95,000 views and I was like, "Wait, that had like 800 views like, a month ago."
Yeah, like how
And
did this
I
happen?
have, yeah, and I think it's still one of my like top 20 videos and it's pretty crazy. I have no idea why. It's not
You just
particularly
never know,
good.
man.
I mean, it does what it's supposed to do. It shows off the features and everything, but it's not the product or me, like nothing about it is exceptional by any means. So, yeah, that does happen from time to time. I guess it's better than it not happening, right? And it
Yeah,
just being a flop,
I've had that. So
constantly.
yeah, I mean, I've been so I'm not bragging, but yeah, I'm fortunate enough to have like a few videos over a million or like right there, just under a million, creeping up on it. And a lot of those videos, they started off doing poorly, you know,
Hmm.
and then 3, 4 months later, the algorithm for whatever reason picked it up, or maybe something like I did a video on Nick Arcade, the old like Nickelodeon game show, and it didn't do well at all when it first came out. But then, like I think like almost a year later, Paramount Plus added Nick Arcade and a bunch of Nickelodeon TV shows, and
Hmm.
suddenly like it went up to like I think it's like 200 something thousand views. You just like never know. So
Yeah,
anyway, all you can do is make like the best content
exactly.
possible. Try to make it
Yep,
evergreen as much as possible. Some stuff can't be evergreen, obviously,
true.
but you know,
That's true.
yeah.
But your stuff, I feel like once people find it, though, at least for me, when I found your stuff, I shared it with everybody that I knew that was into gaming because
Oh,
it's
thank you, man.
just not what we typically see. So, I watched like your GoldenEye video, for example, and I sent that to probably, 25 people as soon as I finished it the first time because it's just something you don't typically see on here. Plus, I know a lot of people that are into that same sort of, content that I'm into.
Sure.
But, let me see. There you go. That's a good point too. Thumbnails make a big difference, and that's something I've tried to, get better at over the
Yeah,
last.
I struggle with that too, man.
Yours are good though. Yours are good. Like you,
They're okay.
for me, like I used to try to describe the video with the thumbnail. Like I would have like I felt like I had like a paragraph on there, basically like screaming that this is what it's about, and I still have to fight myself on that sometimes because I want to label the shit out of everything that I put out. So
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
always
dude.
constantly reeling myself back in with that.
It's funny you mentioned putting a paragraph because I'm looking it up on my phone here. So I for this Game Boy video, because it didn't like do as well out the gate as I wanted to. I've been playing around with the thumbnail. I've done like 6 thumbnails for this video,
Hmm.
and but one of them I was like, you know what? Maybe I just need to like be more descriptive
Yeah,
on this thumbnail. So like on the thumbnail, hold on, I'm pulling it
I'm
up now. Like
I'm pulling it up too to see what you have for a thumbnail.
well, now the thumbnail on there right now is pretty simple. But I had this thumbnail where like I changed it to just basically like the Game Boy on the right side of the thumbnail, and then on the left, it's almost a paragraph. It's like how Nintendo nearly destroyed the Game Boy, and then in small letters underneath, the making of the Game Boy. Like that is so much to read. That is so much, and I'm not making it up here. I'll put it up to the camera. Like that was the thumbnail.
I'm gonna put a link in the because I just pulled it up too to see. I think
But
it's
now
I
it's got like
mean
a pretty
yeah, no, that
not a
one's
lot of
dialed in
writing on the
now.
new thumbnail, but
But I really like your thumbnail there. I think that's perfect because it shows exactly what it's about without. I mean, you do have a title in the thumbnail too,
yeah.
but I mean it does its job. It's not too much. But yeah, I used to describe it and like have like arrows point like I just look back and it looks like I don't know, it looks like a Madden
But dude,
you know.
the arrows thing, like I hate to say it, but it works. A
It
lot of
does.
times it
I try to
works.
keep to just one now. So, but I used to, yeah. I don't know
Yep.
what I
I've
was
got an
thinking.
arrow on one of mine, on
It
like
does work
my
if you have like a simpler sort of background and stuff like that. It does pop and it does seem to work. So I keep
yeah.
that, but I don't overdo it. But yeah, it's the thumbnails though definitely have and I was at Vid Summit in Dallas. It's like a conference about YouTube, and Mr. Beast. I think he actually owns the whole conference thing now because they do it yearly. But he had this like master class, I guess, about thumbnails, and he just kind of walked through his process for selecting thumbnails, and it's insane. Like he'll start with like 100 thumbnails, and they'll dial it down to like 25, and then to 10, and then to 5, and then they'll stew over
100
it when
thumbnails.
yeah, well, because he's got this. I
Oh, he's got
actually
a
saw.
team
Oh, massive
making
team.
that
Yeah,
can make 100
yeah,
thumbnails.
yeah, yeah. And I'm sure people. I don't know. Maybe people send them. Probably not because he doesn't tell you what his content's going to be. But yeah, like, but it would be like. So he had up on the screen like when he broke it down to like 25, and it was like the slight. Like I'm sitting there and like I don't know the fourth row, and I'm looking at him. I'm like I don't even see the difference in the 25 that he narrowed it down to. Like it would be like a shade difference in, or like a different shadowing on like the word in the thumbnail. Like
Actually, I in here I was about to like crap on him, but I do the same thing. So like even though like I've quote unquote made 6 thumbnails, I've it's more like I uploaded six
mhm,
thumbnails or I changed it 6 times on actual YouTube. But in reality, I made like 20. And because these thumbnails now, a lot of my thumbnails now, I just do them in 3D too. And sometimes people can't even tell
yeah.
that like they think it's like a picture I took of the console or whatever. But
Hmm.
so because I'm in there, like I'll like make like a bunch with like different, okay, I'm gonna change like this light in there to a different shade of yellow and this one to a different shade of blue. So I end up doing that too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm
Well,
an idiot. I'm
I
a fool
mean,
just like him.
but I mean, it's working. He's the biggest or
Yeah.
one of the
Yeah.
biggest YouTubers, so he knows what he's doing. But yeah, it just seems like such a extreme process for. I mean, Mr. Beast could post a video of paint drying on a wall and it would get 30
Sure.
million views out of the gate. So it seems at this stage like he could do, and I've seen other content creators that get massive just throw up like hot garbage and it works for them because they know they don't have to do all that. So I guess it
Yeah.
says a lot about him that he still gives a
True.
shit to do all of that. So
Yeah, dude. Because
I'll give him credit there.
if I had a million subscribers, my thumbnails would just be like white text on a black background.
There you go. There you go.
I hate doing the thumbnail. By the way, Chase, in the chat, somebody had asked you to explain the cheesecake joke.
Okay. So yeah, where do I even begin with this? Cheesecake has consumed these live streams. So where did this all start, guys? I mean, they know, but they had to remind me how all this stuff started because it wasn't my thing. Like now, people think that I'm obsessed with cheesecake. It's these guys that did this. I
Oh,
didn't do
it's
the
them. I
cheesecake.
see.
Well, it's
Blame
not.
your
It's not.
blame your audience. I see.
I'm gonna blame you guys, but it's actually not even you guys. You guys just, I don't know,
Everyone
gravitated towards
unsubscribed is
it.
blaming you for.
There you go. It was Heck and Steve. So he was the first guest that I had on before I was even trying to bring guests into the mix. Um, More or less, he's a good buddy of mine, and I just wanted to kind of tackle this with somebody. So I think I did one or two myself, and then I brought him into the mix. So at some point in time, we started talking about food, and he mentioned cheesecake, and it just stuck. Now cheesecake is everywhere in here. It's just people just yelling cheesecake. So I just, for like the members, I just made like cheesecake emojis that they can now like put in here. I think we don't see it over here on StreamYard. It looks like
No, I've got the
code on our
chat up.
end. Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah, I got
So
it
I've
up on
got the
my
chat
video.
here, but like, so it'll show up as like the file name for me inside of StreamYard.
Mm.
But yeah, so
Oh,
I'm
that's
playing
that's
into it
funny, man.
now. But yeah, it's funny what people gravitate towards. But yeah, it's funny. I text him all the time, and I'm like, "Yep, cheesecake's still relevant over in my live chat." So
Yeah, because somebody had asked me, I think it was Ricky, like, yeah, what goes into your choice of a cheesecake or something like that? And I don't actually like cheesecake. I'm like, sorry. And then everyone's like talking
oh,
about cheesecake. Yeah, I know.
you're gonna get ejected now. It's funny. It's
Yeah,
funny. Everybody has had like a favorite cheesecake. I think you're the first one that doesn't like cheesecake. So
yeah. I
you,
try. I mean, I like sweets, but try to avoid them.
yeah,
In case I got to go back in the ring, brother.
there you go. How long has it been since you've been in the ring too?
Last match was 2018.
Okay,
Um,
okay.
so yeah, it was like I was still in Florida, and then I ended up moving to Washington for work for a little bit. And when I was in Washington, that's when like the pandemic hit and stuff. And not that I was really planning on wrestling up there. Did I bring my wrestling gear? Yes,
Hmm.
just in case something happened and
There you
I
go.
couldn't say no.
Hmm.
Uh, but yeah, 2018. I've definitely like have had promoters here that know me from when I was wrestling regularly, like asked me to do shows and stuff. But it's such a time sink, dude. Like, because when you go to like a show, okay, you got to drive out to wherever the show is. Let's say you're lucky and it's 2 hours away, fine, but you got to be there like 3 hours before the show starts. So now you're there. Let's say the show starts at 7. You have to be there, at 4. So you have to leave your house at 2. Maybe the show ends at like 10:30, and then you got to wait around to get paid. You might leave the show like around 11:30. And then after that, you're hungry. So you got to stop somewhere. Long story short, you're getting back home like 12 hours later. You
Yeah,
know,
I can
that's just a lot
understand that.
of time, dude.
And what's the
It
pay
hurts.
like, if you don't mind me asking? Because it's just something I've always wondered.
Sure.
Because just as somebody that like I've gone to a lot of indie shows. I took my stepson's older than my two, and that was one of the things that we bonded over was gaming and
That's cool.
wrestling. So I would take him to indie shows back when Cody kind of
Mhm.
restarted his whole career going back to the indies, and you were getting like all these really exciting indies
Yeah, I'm like, those
matches.
are good in these shows. Those are like nice in these
Yeah,
shows.
yeah. Now I feel now I haven't been in a while, and I want to go back to one, but I feel like I'm just going to judge it based on that really amazing
Mhm.
time where all these guys were kind of free agents hitting the indie scene. But you start breaking down like, okay, there's not that many people in here. The tickets aren't like ridiculously expensive. Like how
Right.
much couldn't like and there's 30 wrestlers coming in here, not obviously big names, but you start looking at it
Yeah.
like, how is anybody
Mhm.
getting any
How is it
money out of
like
this?
making anything?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it really depends. And again, the industry's changed a lot since, even though 2018 wasn't that long ago.
Hmm.
The like indie wrestling is a lot healthier now because the wrestling business is healthier in general. So I'm sure like people are getting paid more now in general.
Hmm.
But so the pay, I mean, it's a lot like being in a local band is how I like to explain this. When you first start out in a local band, I don't know if you've ever been in one or know anyone who has, but you're basically like you're not getting paid to play your first like a lot of your first shows because nobody knows you. You don't have any drawing power, right? You're
Sure.
lucky to get booked at a venue. And then like as you start to build a reputation and a little bit of a following, now you start to like get paid, you start to be able to ask for money and things. So like the first couple of shows I did, I think I got paid like $10, basically like gas, you know.
Yeah. Right.
And I started actually like doing shows like in 2000, like end beginning of 2008, if I remember right. So and then like slowly and slowly you build it up, you work better venues, better companies, you get a reputation, blah blah blah. So by the end, I could ask for like 250,
Okay.
maybe more. It just depended too on the show.
Mm-hmm.
um like if I needed to, and that's 250 to wrestle. Like there might also be transportation I might ask on top of that, like, hey, your show is 4 hours away, I need like gas too or whatever.
Right.
um
You can
so
kind of
it really
negotiate a little bit.
yeah, it depends. And the way that some of these shows make money, even though like they might have, like you said, like 30 people wrestling on a show, it's like there's only 200 people in the audience. How is there
Yeah.
enough money to go around? Is
Sure.
sponsors. A lot
Okay.
of these shows have sponsors, so like that's how.
That's true.
uh
That makes sense then.
yeah. But somebody had asked in the chat, what's the worst bump I ever took? um there's I, I I'll have like three answers for, if you don't mind me answering this.
No,
Uh,
absolutely. Dive into it.
so one of them has to do with kind of the worst injury I ever had, although it's not as bad as some other ones. So during wrestling training, a guy was practicing how to do a senton splash, which is like you jump over a guy, you fall back on him like this on his chest while he's on the mat. Well, when you usually fall in wrestling, you slap out your hands, right? To like minimize the impact or spread the impact. You shouldn't do that when you're doing a senton, because if you're doing a senton, when your back is falling on the guy's chest, if you snap out, your elbow will go into their face, or it could go into their face. Well, he slapped out and knocked out my tooth, this tooth, and I caught it like in my throat. I almost swallowed my
Jeez.
own tooth. They were actually able to put it back in. It's the same tooth. So I got
Wow.
like really lucky that I didn't have to like get a
I
fake
didn't even
tooth
know
or
that. I
anything.
didn't even know you could do that.
Dude, I was sure I was gonna have to like, they weren't gonna be able to do anything, but they shoved it
Yeah.
back in there. They were like, you're gonna need a root canal, come back in like 6 months, blah
Wow.
blah. And then they made like it's almost like a retainer like you get when you get braces, like that clear mouth guard kind of thing. They made me
Hmm.
one of those things to like hold it in place.
Okay.
And it never rotted. I still have it. I eat whatever with it. Like I
Wow.
never had to get the root canal. I just got really lucky. I'm sure one day it'll go.
Catch up to
But
you. Yeah.
dude, another awful bump I had. The bump wasn't awful. It was what came right after the bump. One of the sponsors for a company I worked for was a car dealership, and once a year we would do a show at the dealership, and which was fun because like this dealership was huge. They set up a big tent, and like there'd be like thousands of people there. It was fun, and we decided, or actually, one of the people that worked at the car dealership said, "Hey, if you guys want to do something with one of our cars, go ahead." And I'm like, "What do you mean do something with one of your cars? Like, we don't want to like hurt your cars." And they're like, "Oh, well, you could do something like it with the bed of this pickup truck." So, long story short, I took a back body drop into the bed of a pickup truck, and I was like, as I'm in the air about to fall into the shot, I'm like, "This is probably not going to feel good when I hit like this metal pickup truck
Yeah.
flatbed."
Probably not.
It felt fine. It didn't hurt at all. But and I'm there. I'm like, I hit, and I'm like, "Oh my god, it doesn't hurt." Okay, good. And then I feel my skin burning because this truck has been under the hot Florida summer sun all
Oh
day.
shit.
And there's no shade really for this truck except like right up to the cab. So like rolled, pretending that like I'm hurt. I roll up to the cab where there's like a sliver of shade. Uh, so I'm just like up against like the cab basically, because I had
Yeah.
to like stay in the pickup truck selling this thing for a while, and eventually I just like rolled out of the big pickup truck, and it was a triple threat match. To
Okay.
clarify, so the other two guys were supposed to be doing other stuff, and then I would.
Right.
Um, then I'm trying to think other. I never had like any like really huge bad bump, but I can tell you one thing that almost everybody at my wrestling school, including myself, either broke or bruised a rib on, which is just a hip toss. Hip toss
Interesting.
is like one of the simplest things, but when you're learning it, your body's like, when you're learning how to bump, like your body's just not used to it. and you're like
Right.
sore every day. Your body like builds up like a callus eventually,
Mm-hmm.
and things that used to hurt or injure you just won't. Well, hip toss, until you've gotten used to it, it's very easy to like just hurt your rib cage if you land, slightly offside. And
That makes
for whatever
sense.
reason, we all hurt our ribs on that one pretty bad.
Wow. Yeah, you wouldn't. I guess when you really think about it, there's nothing to absorb that impact. So somebody said you look like Canyon, and
Yeah,
then
I can see
somebody
that.
was somebody else was asking dream match for you. Is there anybody that? Let me ask. I'm going to rephrase their question. Is there anybody that you wished you wrestled, or anybody that you looked up to that you did get to wrestle?
I got to do some stuff with Stevie Richards.
Okay.
And we're still like friendly. He's a really sweet guy. He's really into cats. I'm a big cat guy. He's really big into video games. Funny enough, like he loves the GoldenEye video. Like he DM'd me about it like just a couple months ago that he had watched it again.
I actually
Uh,
talked to him like 2 weeks ago, so
yeah, he's
I
a
get
cool guy.
yeah. He's
Awesome
into
guy.
retro gaming, so yeah,
Yeah.
it
So
seems
like
like a good dude.
he and I were supposed to do a one-on-one match, and my dad got like had a heart attack. So I literally the day of the show, thanks, Dad. So I couldn't wrestle one-on-one, but he was still like in a feud with a tag team partner of mine in the same company. So we still ended up doing like working together on a bunch of other stuff and matches. So, but yeah, he's like a sweetheart. Do you remember Prince Ikea from WCW?
It's not ringing a bell.
He was like a TV champ for a long time. Then he was a cruiserweight champ for a
To look
while
him up.
too. I think at one point they called him like the artist formerly known as Prince Ikea. Uh,
Okay. Okay.
but anyways, like he worked at a company I worked at, and I never knew like he could cut a hell of a promo. He's a great heel, and we ended up doing like a big a big feud where we culminated like in a best three out of in an I Quit match. And it was just kind of wild having like a big
Yeah.
feud with a guy where like one match was like a submission match. We had like all kinds of different kind of matches leading up to that. So that was pretty cool. But I don't know, man. Like the one guy, I guess the two guys I would have loved to have wrestled was HBK and Jericho. They were always my favorites as a
Hmm.
kid.
Good choices. Good choices for sure.
But yeah, I mean, I got to do stuff with a lot of people. Hurricane Helms when he was doing indie stuff.
Okay.
Um, I
He's
was on a show
he's
with
he's really good. I like him.
Yeah, I did a show at the Cobb County Civic Center, which is like a 3,000 seat like arena where like Ric Flair had defended the NWA title, a bunch of stuff, and like Matt Hardy was on that show, but somehow me and my buddy we were the main event. It was real weird, and
I mean,
Hardy
that's pretty
was
cool.
yeah, Matt was like super nice because I thought it was weird, and I was like, hey, shouldn't Matt be like in the main
You
event
would
even though
think.
it's we're the ones going for the belt? And Matt was like, no, 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 you guys, the belt should always blah blah blah. No ego. I
Yeah.
mean, he also probably just wanted to like leave
Yeah,
early,
that's true, right?
but still, like no ego on the guy. He was like
Yeah,
super
yeah.
cool. Gave feedback to anybody that asked. Watched everybody's matches.
That's
You know,
cool. That's cool to
yeah,
hear. He seems like a down to earth guy too. I've seen him on indie matches actually when he was doing the what was his thing? Um the delete that
oh, the
whole thing.
broken Matt Hardy.
Broken Matt Hardy, that's what it was. Yeah. I saw him
Yeah,
on that, and that's when I really saw like the impact of that whole gimmick, because I never got it. It wasn't
yeah.
something that, I gravitated towards, but to see like,
It's fun in the audience when you're in the audience for it. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, it was crazy to just see it in person, like how many people were totally into it. So he's from Florida. I just saw Perfect Storm
Yeah. Well,
Gaming. Are you
I
from
was just gonna.
Florida, or that's where you live?
That's where I live. I'm from Puerto Rico. Like I was born
Oh,
there, lived
okay,
there till I was
okay,
8, and then been in the States ever since.
okay, okay. Gotcha. All right. So we do have a giveaway, and it's actually a minute away from being up, but the link at the top there in the description, or excuse me, the live chat, will take you right over. So click that link if you guys haven't already, but it's about to be over. Um, and I'm
So
going to open
Chase,
up
let me
to,
ask you, man,
yeah,
like what was
absolutely.
I mean, you kind of touched on it a little bit about like how you did a tutorial because you weren't happy with some of the tutorials you were seeing, but like
Hmm.
was there anything in particular that made you do like your first mini PC review? Because like you said, that is kind of like what you're kind of known for.
Yeah. Yeah, so I was originally, my channel name was RetroPie Guy, and then the folks over at RetroPie reached out and said I should probably change the name, which was good advice. But to be fair, when I started, I was, I didn't aspire to be a YouTuber. I was just like, there's no, straightforward reviews on RetroPie for morons like me that don't know how to do anything. So I just grabbed RetroPie Guy as a name, and I figured, all right, I mean, if I tackle a name that is similar to the content, it'll work. So yeah, they advised me to change it, but I started branching out from that because I ran out of things to cover with RetroPie. Like I literally at one point started to do like I started going back to like the basics. Like, is there anything like really easy? Like I did videos on like how to install a cooling fan, which is literally like taking two connections and putting them together. And somehow I milked that for like a 9-minute video. So I just was running out of things to do. And somebody told me like you should just review stuff because you've gotten used to, the inner workings of all these different things. So I started doing that and I kind of figured like, okay, now I have like unlimited content because there's all these new things coming out. And it was at
Sure.
the perfect time, where mini PCs were kind of taking off. So yeah, I just rolled with the punches, and I'm still going. So um,
Nice.
yeah,
I
I know a
think they
lot of
did you a
people.
favor though. It was a blessing in disguise to have you change the name to Retro Gamer Guy because it's more
Yeah,
generalized.
for
You're
sure,
not
for sure.
pigeonhole your name doesn't
Ex-
pigeonhole you in people's minds.
right, and nobody knew what RetroPie was outside of that world too. Like even people
Right.
that used Botacera or Retrobat, a lot of people then didn't know what RetroPie was either. So it was just like, what is all this? And it was funny. I have an office for separate business, town away from me, and my parents are out of the same place, and they saw like I got something in the mail, Retro Pie Guy, and my mom was like, "There's somebody in the building that's making pies," and I was just like, I was like, "What?" And she's like, "I got something in the mail for Retro Pie Guy. We should figure out who's making pies over here and order some." I was like, "It's not what that is. That's actually me." And she's like, "It's you?" So it was this whole like weird I still don't think she really understood. So in her mind, she might think I'm still making pies somewhere. I don't know. So
Yeah,
yeah,
my
it was.
parents didn't understand get the whole YouTube thing either.
Yeah, oh, mine
Yeah.
mine still don't like mine look at it. I think my mom still looks at it as like a crypto scam. Like, oh, do you think this is gonna pan out for you long term? I'm like, I think it's doing pretty well. Yeah, it's just that different generation. I think they don't get it, or
Yeah, yeah.
it. I mean, it is very different than anything else out here. So I can understand it being hard to. And there's so many weird like inner workings to all this stuff too. Like I'm still trying to navigate it sometimes. There's so many
Yeah.
new things going on behind the scenes, and it's yeah, it's a lot more to it than just hitting record and then posting. So
Yeah. Trying
yeah,
to explain to like, especially for the type of content I do to like, because one time my mom, this was about a year ago, because I didn't before this Game Boy video. I think it was like a little bit over 2 years since my last video, and she was like, why haven't you posted a video? Just like,
yeah,
and I had like a medical issue, anyways, going on, where I needed
hmm,
to like take a break, try to not type as much as I was, so like I just couldn't work on them anyway. But she
yeah,
was like, I was like, well, I've got this going on. Number one, she's like, well, even your older videos, why is there like sometimes like a month between your videos? You need to like work, uh, more on this, and it's like, uh. It's not just like hitting record and then like
yeah,
pushing a
yeah.
button and everything like happens.
Right. Yeah. I'm fortunate in that my stuff is like shorter, although my videos do go on for a while sometimes, but it's still like shorter projects with limited edits. So I feel like I can get through them fairly quickly, and I've figured out how to, shave off some time in the process. But I do commend you on doing less total videos, and it's insane how many views you get on less because my approach to growing on here was put out as much content as possible, and I've kind of kept to that to some extent. Now I'm trying to dial it back and be more, selective with what I do. But for me, one question I do have, and I'm getting off topic now, but
All good.
how do you pick your videos, like what you're going to dive into? Because you're investing a set amount of time in there that,
Sure.
there's risk versus reward on all that.
I mean, I've got probably like you do and a lot of YouTubers do. I've got like a list of topics
Hmm.
that I've made that I want to cover. It's like an ever growing list that no matter how many videos
Yeah.
you make, like the list, always keeps growing.
Yeah.
But the stuff that goes on there, it's a lot of it is just stuff that I grew up with that I either want to research because I just want to know more about it. Like the Game Genie and Game Shark videos, it was just like, man, I want to know more about how these things even came about. Other times it's stuff that I don't know anything about. Like, I mean, like the Super FX video, like I grew up with, I'm sorry, not the Super FX video, but the Famicom modem that Nintendo had for the in Japan.
Hmm.
Like I heard about it. I thought that that was really wild that they made, a modem for the Famicom like in the 80s, and I was like, okay, I want to know more about that, so hopefully other people will too. But
Sure.
basically that I try not to chase like views and trends.
Yeah. You stick to
Um
what you're into. I got that.
yeah, just but I do try to make the content like evergreen. Like,
Yeah.
like this Game Boy video, like, whether you watch it now or in 5 years, like it's still applicable, right? Like it's the
For
whole
sure.
story that I wanted to tell, blah, 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 blah. That kind of a thing.
Yeah, it's got a
Um,
long shelf life. It's never
yeah,
gonna go out of style. Yeah, with my
yeah,
stuff, that's not the case because you know I'll review something tomorrow that is gonna be in most people's eyes obsolete in a year and a half
sure.
because
There'll be
so many
a
new things
faster
will
CPU in the next,
exactly
Surf
exactly
6 or whatever.
sure. Yep. So that makes sense. Yeah, it's always tough for me to like figure out what people are going to be interested in. That's why I asked the question because you're obviously dedicating a set amount of, days, weeks, months, whatever it is based on that type of video to that type of video. So you have to kind of know that at least some people are going to be interested
Yeah.
in it, which I mean, GoldenEye is a safe bet. Everybody, that's
Oh
probably
yeah,
the
yeah.
most popular, N64 game.
Yeah, I figured that would be
Um,
like a slam dunk. I mean,
yeah, and it was. So that
yeah.
was good. But I'm so out of touch. Like now I've dialed it into like, okay, anything I do with mini PCs is gonna be decent views. Like people are really interested in that, even if they're not in the market for a mini PC, just to see like where things are going. And especially if somebody falls flat with a product, everybody's
Sure.
there to eat that up. So
Yeah.
that's a safe one for me. But stuff that I'm into usually isn't what everybody else is into. And then I get surprised every now and then. Like I did one of those Pandora box arcade sort of setups.
Mhm.
To be honest, I didn't intend to review it. I ordered it by mistake on Amazon. So I got it in and I was like, what is, and I ordered two of them too. So now I have two of them because I feel bad returning it. But I was like, well, I ordered this by mistake. I was just looking at it and decided to just review it, and it did, a few thousand views. So it was one of those I didn't think it was going to do anything at all. So yeah, sometimes I'm just out of touch and I get lucky. Sometimes I think something's going to be a massive
Yeah.
hit,
You
and
just yeah,
it's
you really
not.
just never know, man.
Yeah.
When I did the video on the yellow tabs in the those Sega Genesis carts that EA made, it was just because like, man, why did some of these Sega Genesis carts like from EA, why do they look different? Why do they have a different shell? And what is this stupid yellow tab for? Like that's
Hmm.
all. Like I just wanted to know, and I'm like, okay, I'll make a video about this. And I was like, surely this is gonna bomb. Like nobody
Right.
cares about because it's just a piece of plastic on a
Yeah.
on a different shaped piece of plastic. But that video like blew up. It's almost at 1 million now. And that video, like I remember, like it did like 100,000 views in like a few days.
Wow.
I've
That's
never had a
awesome.
video since or before. Even other videos that I've had that do more than 1 million, they never started off like that. So you just never know,
Yeah.
dude. Or when I did like the X Band video, like I took a year doing that basically.
Hmm.
And I was sure like it was gonna, that was a passion project. I was expecting it to get maybe 20,000 views or so, but it ended up with like 500,000. And
Wow.
nobody had, hardly anyone had even heard of X Band. And
Yeah.
you just never know. I think you're getting to the point. Actually, I'd say you're probably already at the point where like you have a reputation for making good content. So it all, not that it doesn't matter what you make. I mean, if you made like a
Yeah.
video about Teletubbies tomorrow, I'm sure it's not going to do well. But
Or it'll do
maybe
phenomenal
you
and I'll
never,
become
or
the
maybe you find a new audience. But you know
yeah,
what I mean?
it's true.
Like once you get to a point where like
Yeah.
you have a reputation for making good content, you have like a certain set of people that will always at least check it out, even if it's not something that they're interested in,
Sure.
because they
Makes sense.
trust that you wouldn't have made a video on it if it wasn't something that
Right.
is
Right.
interesting. So
That's true. That's a good
And
point to make.
you know, and at that point, I feel, I don't know, this is gonna sound real stupid, maybe it's the bourbon talking, but I feel like a responsibility to the audience too.
Yeah,
Like, I wanna, don't get me wrong, I wanna make videos on things that I'm interested in, of course, but by
yep,
the same token, I don't wanna waste their time, and I know
that's
that there's
true.
gonna be some people that are gonna click on anything I put out, so I wanna make it as interesting as possible, as visually interesting as possible. That's why my editing has gotten like quite ridiculous.
Hmm.
You know, I just want to, I want to make it worth their time, especially the older I get, man. Like, time
Yeah,
is like so precious, and it feels like
that's
every day
that's true. That's true.
there's less of it. You know?
Well, you've definitely set the bar really high with the edits and the effects and all that. So, yeah, I think you're stuck doing that from now on. You know, if you,
I appreciate it, man.
yeah,
But dude, you're editing like you're, you know, not giving yourself enough credit, because editing should be appropriate too for like the
yeah,
content or the what you're trying to get out. Like, it
sure.
would be ridiculous, and it would be distracting if you were doing the kind of editing that I do for you,
Yeah,
for
no,
your
no, for sure, for
reviews,
sure.
you
Yeah, and
know?
I think that less is more in that case too, because yeah, you're right. It would be distracting if I had this like really in depth, CGI sort of graphics popping up between, scenes unboxing versus, diving
Yeah,
into, a demo or something like that. So yeah, it does make sense to dial it back a little bit. Now, I saw there was a question about Maven Huffman's channel. I actually came across it fairly recently, and I love what he's doing over there. Have
me
you checked
too.
out his? Yeah, it's so interesting because so many former wrestlers or current wrestlers have definitely done the YouTube thing, but he's doing it in a very different way that I think is
Mhm.
really interesting. And I am going to queue up the giveaway here on my end, but yeah, you've seen
Oh yeah,
his
yeah. I
channel, his
love his
content.
stuff. Like, and he's another guy. He's a guy that like everything he's posted has been so interesting that like, even if it's a topic that sometimes I'm like, I don't really care about this, but I
Yeah,
know
yeah,
by the time I'm done with the video, I'll be glad I watched it.
for sure.
So
Yeah, I've definitely watched a lot of his stuff that I start off a video the same way, like you're saying. Not, I really don't care, about the topic, but it's interesting. It grips you. So,
yeah,
um, yeah,
yeah,
definitely
he's a good
cool there
storyteller.
for sure. And he's kind of pulling the curtain back a little bit. He's talking about pay that he made and the travel expenses and the schedule.
Hmm.
Definitely gives regular people like me a lot of insight. So into what they deal with, especially on that WWE schedule that they've had for so long. All right, so we've got the winner for this elite. This is what I've called the best mini PC. It's not cheap by any means. It's like a $750, but they do have a promo right now. So if you do want to go out and get it, I think it's like $600 at the end of the day. But it's the Elite Mini, and I have to look at it because the name on here is super long. UM780XTX Mini PC, just phenomenal. AMD graphics, AMD processor. The winner here is Thomas Rosenberg. So that's one I don't know if I've seen that in the. Well, of course, everybody uses their names over here. So, Thomas, if you're still with us here, shout yourself out here, unless you don't want to. But Thomas Rosenberg, that's awesome. Yeah,
Oh,
this is
congratulations!
definitely, and I'm actually reviewing a minis forum mini PC that'll be out tomorrow, and I've been editing that for like the last day or so. But they're putting out some amazing stuff. So shout out. There's a few people here that have actually urged me to check out this brand, but so glad that I did because they're quickly overtaking B-Link, I think, with what they're putting
Really?
out. Yeah, really phenomenal stuff. Of course, they haven't been around it for as long as B-Link, so it's one of those you got to see how they kind of do long term. But really
Sure.
impressive what they're putting into it, and they're making these advancements that seem like they're well thought out. Like so many times we see mini PCs, but also handhelds, just everything. Where sometimes it becomes like a cash grab. I feel like where they
Hmm.
know that there's going to be a select few people that are going to buy whatever they put out, especially with handhelds. So they just kind of change the appearance of them, but they don't change anything internally. So
Right.
these
Right.
guys are
Right.
actually, taking the time to go through everything and try to better themselves each time. So definitely
Yeah.
commend them on that.
You know, one thing I really appreciated about your review videos, because like I had watched yours when I was like looking for mini PC. I ran across your channel and like a couple others. I think like ETA Prime and
ETA
somebody
Prime's
else.
good. Yeah. Yep.
But I one thing I appreciated with yours, and I don't know if this is by design or just a coincidence, but when you have the section where you're playing the games, um, on whatever mini PC you're reviewing, a lot of times in the videos you do the same games. So
Yeah.
like now I have a point of reference. Okay, I know it ran, this like there's I think it's SmackDown that you do a lot. It's one of them.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Okay,
get
I saw
roasted for
how
that sometimes.
well, it's like, well, but I can say, okay, I saw how
Yeah.
that ran on this other mini PC, and I can see it's running better
Yeah.
on this one. That's probably not a great example because that runs fine on anything, but you know what I mean. So
Yeah, for
like that's
sure.
one
For sure.
thing I really appreciate it is like having that constant point of reference.
Well, I'll tell you, I'll pretend that it is by design, but it's not. It's that I'm so stubborn in that I really enjoy that game. I love Virtua Tennis. There we go, Virtua Tennis right there.
Yeah, that one's
Um,
always there.
it's always there because I could play that game endlessly, and I do. So I have to
Crash
like
Bandicoot
remind
Racing
myself.
on Switch,
Yeah,
always there.
you guys know it's always there. NFL Blitz 2003. It's
Yeah.
yeah, Mario Kart 64. Yeah. So I've been trying to switch it up a little bit. I've been throwing WCW NWO Revenge in there every now and then.
Okay, okay.
Um, so yeah, I try to change it, but I'm glad to hear that it gives a point of I didn't even think of that. All these videos and
Dude,
never even
I
thought of
thought like
that.
that. I
So
mean, don't get me wrong. I'm sure like at some point people would want you to change it up anyways, because
yeah, yeah, for sure.
but for me personally, yeah, like that's one thing that like really made me watch like all of your reviews that you put out because it was a lot of the same games.
Yeah. And just to address that one, Minis Forum wasn't the one that had viruses. It was Ace Magic, just to clarify that. But that was, and to, yeah, so that's another thing worth mentioning, I suppose. And I have reviewed their stuff, never one with viruses, luckily, but they did have like I don't know what you would call that, a breach or somebody in their, in manufacturing put a virus on whatever they were using to duplicate their drives. So they ended
Mm,
up putting a bunch out that did have malware on there. So they got all that situated, of course, but
damn.
it certainly does, leave a bad taste in everybody's mouth with that brand.
Yeah.
So,
That could happen
um,
to probably almost any brand.
yeah, I mean, I guess you'd have to have some things in place to keep that from happening, but I guess, it could be a learning experience for everybody. But it's been
Yeah.
a learning experience for me on my end because now I tell everybody to scan the shit out of everything with, any way of detecting malware or viruses
Sure.
because that's something like who would think to scan something you're getting brand new out of a box? Like
Yeah. Yeah.
nobody would do that. A game
Yeah.
drive or something like that, then sure. But like a Dell laptop, I mean, it could happen to Dell as well as it could happen to HP
Yeah.
or
Because a lot of
these
times,
smaller brands.
yeah, they're sourcing components from, overseas and where,
Oh yeah,
they don't
everything.
have
Yeah.
direct control over every step of the quality. And yeah,
Yep. Yeah. I mean, and I'm sure they're just trusting whoever their suppliers are and manufacturers and all that stuff too. So I think it brings a lot of concerns to light. So try to pull the positives out of it that we have one more thing that we have to be aware of, but everybody's trying to get our information. I mean, I had somebody send me an email last week trying to gain access to my channel here, so it's crazy. And we saw what happened. Did you hear what happened to Retro Rick with his channel getting hacked? I don't know, like maybe 6 weeks ago, 2 months ago now, something like
I
that.
didn't see that. I mean, I've seen and known a couple of people that, they got their session ID
Hmm.
hijacked, which is probably what I'm guessing happened to them.
He had
Um,
his whole channel taken over, and they like wiped all his videos out and everything.
did like the crypto live stream.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's when
exactly.
they take.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the group
Oh,
that's like stealing like the session
oh okay.
ID or the token or whatever.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, man. Like one thing I've done, and I don't know if you've done it. I'm sure you're not going to share it if you have or haven't. But like, I mean, the channel that I use for YouTube, like to log in and stuff, like it's separate from my
Yeah.
business email,
Yeah. The same thing
and
here.
stuff. Like
And that's
it's
what I didn't think about when I got that email. It was, because you get this email and basically they're trying to act like YouTube and making you think that they're going to shut you down. So obviously it grabs your attention. And then, when you start thinking about it a couple minutes later as you're going through the email, and first thing I did was log into not through their link or anything, but separately log into YouTube and see that there's no notifications. But then I'm like, wait, which email? Because on my phone, I have all my emails together, so I don't see like which one it went to. So I opened it up and I was like, oh, they sent it to my public one. So obviously it's somebody just, doing a phishing scam. But
right,
yeah,
right.
yeah,
Yeah.
I
So
keep everything
that
separate.
helps.
Yeah.
And another thing I've started doing too is like if it's an email from a company like I don't know or I'm not familiar with or whatever, and if it's something for like a sponsorship offer, where eventually you're gonna get to one where you have to click a link, right?
Yeah.
You have to like
Oh yeah. Yeah.
to get you.
Always.
So like I'll open those up in a virtual machine.
Yeah.
So it's not connected to like they can't get to like any active session IDs on my actual browsers or whatever. And I
Sure.
know that sounds like a little paranoid also, but
No, but I mean, clearly
I
we
also
have
haven't
to
had
just
my
be
tail taken
concerned.
over. So
Yeah, for
and
sure.
once you have like a virtual machine set up, I mean it's like easy to like, pop it
Yeah.
up.
Yep. Yeah, it's crazy the things you have to be concerned with now, especially just opening up what you assume is an innocent
Yeah.
email. But now
Yeah,
I
dude.
feel like I turn everything down now, so it's like it's crazy how many emails I get each day, and now I'm just like trying to not dive into all of them with all these offers and all this stuff because it just becomes like that's one thing I don't want to ever feel like I'm like marketing for anyone and everyone.
Sure.
So all right,
Yeah,
well,
I mean, with sponsor, I mean, I don't think like there's anything like I actually when I see channels I follow like that they have an like they're sponsored by somebody, they have an ad like within the video. I
yeah,
know some people like complain about it or whatever, but I'm always happy to see like a creator I like get some extra money because
yeah,
YouTube can be inconsistent, and even if it's not someone that's doing it for the money, hey, like the economy's tough, dude, for everyone, right? Like
for sure,
that's money that maybe that helps them, have an extra night out with their family or do something nice for their
sure.
kids. So I'm always more than happy to see somebody get a bag, even if it is for like Raid Shadow Legends or something stupid. I'm like,
Or
yeah, good for
Manscape
them.
is like the one that I see everywhere now is Manscape, 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 or
I mean, dude, I did that sponsorship for who was it? Magic Spoon. Which and the funny thing is like I actually like Magic Spoon.
yeah,
I try to keep it cheap and it's expensive
yeah,
is like the downside to it, but I actually like the way it tastes and stuff. But I was shocked at how much they paid.
really.
They didn't even try to negotiate with me.
Oh, okay,
Uh, so
that's good.
I could have asked for more. So
I think that's the one that Retro Ralph I think he did something with them too because he was on and was talking about that one too, and he said the same thing. He really liked it too. So that's if it's something that you like and it's not like forced. I've done a couple like I did. God, it's so bad that I don't
oh,
remember the
yeah, they did like
names.
the mobile phone one,
That one, yeah.
Mint, I think.
Mint Mobile. That's so
See,
bad that
man,
I can't remember it.
man. I watch. I wasn't
It's
blowing
so
smoke
bad
up
that
your
I
ass.
don't though. That's the thing. Like I'm in most of my videos. I do the premieres because the community here is so awesome and they love to
That's
do the
cool.
live chats. I watch my videos on mute usually because I've already watched them like 20 times in editing that I just don't like. I'm over the content, so I'll
Mhm.
keep up with everything and
I
I'll
get
chat with
that.
everybody about it. But yeah, I'm not one of those guys that wants to watch myself all the time. So
Same.
yeah, so I forget about stuff like that. But yeah, it was, and they are actually a good company. And Ryan Reynolds was, I don't think he's the owner anymore, but he was one of the owners for a while. So they were actually cool to deal with. But it was like the same thing I was talking about with working with people to do like thumbnails and stuff. I ended up having to pass all the content through them, and they never had an issue. They never gave me any trouble about anything, but they want to make sure you're not doing anything controversial or,
Sure, yeah.
cussing and, having the wrong image or whatever. So I never had issues, but they would take like 5, 6 days to get back to me just to greenlight everything. So it slowed down, all the other things because I always wanted to drop those videos, obviously, on like,
Yeah.
popular nights.
Yeah, that
But
is the thing. Yeah.
yeah, so for me, like I put out so much content, I don't want things to like kind of gum up the works
Yeah.
there. So
And I will say, so when I dealt with Magic Spoon, like they were, I had like this thing in my ad where I'm like, I don't know if you know, but I'm like, I legitimately enjoy the Philips CDI as a
mhm.
console. Like I'm a big fan of it. Like they jokingly on Twitter, I'm called the leader of CD ISIS. Uh, like I'm a big CDI mark. Anyway, I had like a thing where like during my spot for Magic Spoon where I was like, because CDIs are like huge. They're very big
Yeah,
consoles, at least some
massive.
most of
Yeah,
the models. So like I was like curling it and like being like real awkward about it. Like I was lifting like a giant boulder, and so that's part of the ad. So I sent it to them for review, and they're like, yeah, we're fine with the ad, but what is this VCR that you're why are you picking up a VCR? And so I had to like explain to them like how the CDI is like a this notoriously bad console. Like, so wait, you're using a console people don't like, and I'm like, no, you don't understand. So, anyways, it was like the dumbest like thing, like a day of back and forth emails, and I had
Just
to send them like
explain it. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
had to send like a clip from my live stream of playing CDI, some CDI games, and then they got it. They're like, oh, we get it, okay, okay.
Yeah. 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 Well, you're dealing with marketing people usually that don't know, that probably just
Yeah,
don't understand any of what you're doing because they're in a completely different world. But
yeah.
yeah, what's Magic Spoon for? There's a few people asking. So I'll let
Oh,
you
it's a
do another spot for them for free, I guess.
well, with my discount code is still good. If you go to magicspoon.com/WWG, you get, I don't know, like $5 off, but it's cereal. Although they do sell like other stuff besides cereal now, but it's basically like sugar-free cereal. It's made with like fake sugar, very low
Gotcha.
carb. I think it's aspartame. And yeah, I mean, I had actually been a customer before they reached out. I know a lot of YouTubers say that, but I really had been. So they
Yeah.
were like, "Yeah, we'll send you out a sample pack." I wasn't gonna say no. I'm like, "Great, that'll save me like $40 because that shit is expensive." Uh,
It's
but
awesome when it
yeah,
works out like that because, if you're already, somebody that's using the product, like
yeah,
this company that I have the mics from actually just hit me up a couple days ago and was like, "Do you want to review this microphone?" And they sent me this microphone. So I was like, "Yeah, I've been reviewing it for like 4 months. So yeah, I'll review that for you."
that's
So
cool.
it's always fun when it works out to be something that you're actually interested in. But
Yeah,
yeah, I've kind of just stayed away from. Oh, okay. Ryan Reynolds only had 25% stake. Well, 25% is still a pretty hefty percentage, though, but
yeah.
that's good. Yeah, I thought he was like a smaller. I actually thought he had less than 25%, but learn something new every day. But yeah, I've been trying to stay away from those just because I find that like they're kind of distracting. And then I always felt like I've seen so many people, like I watch a lot of podcasts on YouTube. I don't watch that much gaming content, but I see a lot of people that like recycle the same ad over and over in all their videos.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to do that. So I ended up having to like film a new one every time. And then I would change it up a little bit too, which just gave them more stuff to like go through.
Yeah. I
So
mean,
yeah,
there's some
just
people that like they do like really great ads, like Brutal Moose. I don't know if you've ever watched him, but
I don't
like
think so.
all of his ads, like he makes basically like a skit. And I mean, I don't have the talent for that,
Hmm.
but like they're so much fun to watch. It's like another part of the video. You look forward to the ad segment, like almost kind of a
Yeah,
thing.
yeah. Yeah. If you can do
But
it in a way that like I watch Steve-O's podcast and like he does some funny stuff with his, like he did one, like I think he did the Manscaped. Like he does some like outrageous stuff sometimes that, you do look forward to. So yeah, it can work for certain channels. Like Blue Chew reached out to me. They wanted to do something. And I was like, I could think of some really fun like skit stuff
right,
there,
right.
but then I'm gonna like alienate half of the audience or like I don't know. I'm not here to be a comedian or to like try new things. Like I'm lucky to have what I have here and it be going well.
I would
So
probably, I gotta be honest, I would probably take that sponsorship just to do like a
that's
really
what everybody has told me. Yeah.
dumb ad. Yeah,
Yeah.
but I mean, I've said no to like the most. I've only done like 2 or 3 ads on my channel because a lot of it's just like stuff that I'm just like, I don't feel comfortable.
Right.
Especially like early on the first few years. Like now, I almost like feel like you can, not that you should like advertise if you know a product's like crap. I mean, don't advertise it, but like you see, like for example, if I did like an ad for Raid Shadow Legends, people would just be like, okay, whatever. He's just, doing the ad for money. Like he doesn't really expect
Yeah.
anybody to go play Raid Shadow Legends.
Yeah. Yep. For sure.
Which and I told them no, that they reached out to me on 2 different occasions, and I told them no because I was like, because I played the game, I downloaded it, I was like, this is like not even really a game.
Yeah.
Um, so, but
I
the
had
money
one
that they were offering was
really.
it's yeah, it's kind of insane money. At that point, I didn't even have 100,000 subscribers. I think I had like 70,000 the second time that they offered it to me, and they offered me like 3 grand.
Wow.
I
For one
mean,
spot.
it's they know to 3 grand
Well,
for.
forward me their email if you don't mind. I'm just kidding. No, somebody actually with like one of those like pay to play app games reached out like a week ago, and I'll look at the stuff to see if it's something I am interested in. But that's one thing that I definitely wasn't looking for. Like I don't play any games on my phone. I barely have enough
Yeah.
space to like manage text messages and all the thumbnail stuff that I forget to delete on there. So I'm always gummed up with that. But yeah, I try to stay away from those
Everyone wants the
sort of
email.
games.
Or so yeah, if you guys
Yeah,
ever like see like a Raid Shadow Legends ad, don't be too rough on the content creator that like paid their rent or mortgage, for
there you
that month
go,
probably. So
for sure.
and they got to do what's best for their family. So I don't
Yeah.
know, man. I don't.
Yeah, I mean, I'll never knock anybody for doing that stuff. You just got to do it in the right way, where you kind of distance yourself if it's not something that you are like actually
Yeah.
using or any of that stuff. But
You know what's
um,
funny? I know it's getting. I know you usually only do this for like 90 minutes to 2 hours, but
yeah,
I do want to say one quick story. So after I told Raid Shadow Legends no, after I played the game, I had the brilliant idea of let me do a live stream playing Raid Shadow Legends just so everybody can see like what this game
what it's
really
all
is
about.
like.
Yeah, sure.
So on the thumbnail for the stream, I had not sponsored. The title of the live stream was not sponsored by Raid Shadow Legends, like making it clear.
Yeah,
And almost not almost everybody, but tons of people coming into live stream thought that it was sponsored by Raid Shadow Legends, even though I'm like not being complimentary at all. And I had like this like elaborate thing to like capture from my phone that I had to like
yeah.
buy this adapter and then plug it into like my video game capture device, all this shit that I had to set up.
Yeah.
And I checked my subscriber count like 20 minutes into the stream. I had lost 125 subscribers.
Oh shit. Jeez.
So
Yeah.
I came back. I told everybody that was on the stream, like, hey, I just lost 125,000 subs from this stream, so I'm just gonna end it now. I just ended it, deleted it immediately.
Oh man. That's yeah. Wouldn't do that again then. You end up
Yeah,
back where you started pretty quick.
that was
Yeah,
that was
that's
rough. I couldn't
yeah,
believe it.
it's great. Luckily, I haven't seen that happen. It's funny in these sometimes in like the giveaway streams, I'll see that people. I never get more people subbing from these. I think people get pissed off like, if there's 150. Like this one actually tonight, I just did. I just opened it up at the start of this. But usually I'll announce it on like Monday and I'll leave it all week. So you get people that do just enter and then probably never tune into the live stream, which is, I
Sure.
mean, it is what it is. So
Yeah.
I think that when they realize they didn't win, they just come to this video and unsubscribe. So you always get that sort of you know people that jump on and
Yeah.
jump off from these. But yeah, I can't think of anything that I've done to really alienate people or
I
anything
mean,
like
I
that.
lose
So
subscribers like almost every time I live stream.
really,
Like not a lot, but like yeah, maybe like 10 or so. Like
sure,
I live streamed last Saturday, I think it was, and I'll like live stream usually, excuse me, pretty late, like 11 p.m. Or midnight even, because I
hmm,
like to drink and curse on my live stream, so I don't want like kids showing up and stuff. So,
yeah, yeah, makes sense.
and even with streaming that late, people will be like, "Oh, I wasn't expecting gaming content when I subscribed to this channel. I'm unsubscribed."
I don't know why, but oh well,
But whatever. What can you do?
yep. Well, I want to just, thank you for, I don't want to eat up your entire Friday night here, but I want to thank you for joining me tonight because it was a blast to get to know you a little bit more, but
Oh yeah,
also,
this is fun, man.
I mean, it was awesome to find out that you were a pro wrestler and, we have a lot of sort of aligned interests there. So certainly awesome to get to know you and appreciate you
Oh yeah,
joining
dude.
us
And
here.
I'm gonna if you're down for it, next time I have like in my videos, a lot of times I'll have like quotes that I get other YouTubers
Yeah,
to read. I'll
sure.
reach out to you, and that way I can plug your channel on that video. And if you
Yeah.
don't mind reading a quote or two, and
No, not at
yeah,
all.
try to expose you to maybe a different audience that isn't
Love
aware
it.
that a channel like yours exists. Because I think a lot
Sweet.
of my subscribers would love to have just like a little mini PC solution or whatever for
Yeah,
their
for
retro
sure.
gaming stuff, and they don't
Yeah,
know where to start.
there's something, yeah, something for everybody there for sure. I mean, even if you're not a gamer, or even if you want to just game casually, it is certainly a great option because you could do so many different things on it. So, um, honestly, what I do on these is mostly editing videos, anyways. I certainly test out what they can do with gaming, but
Hmm.
I have a gaming PC, so I use that for what I use for
Sure.
personal use. But all right, man. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I'm gonna hang back here for just a minute or so, but I'll let you go. And again, thank you. I really appreciate you taking the time tonight. And
Oh, dude,
I
I'm
only
so
wanted
glad.
to take up like an hour of your time, so I apologize. We went way
Ah,
over,
dude,
but
I was rambling a lot too, dude. So it's all
no,
good.
that's
I had a great time. If not, I would have
sweet.
found a reason to leave earlier.
Well, I appreciate it.
All right,
Thank you
man.
so
Have a
much,
good night.
man.
And
You
thanks to
too.
everybody in the chat, dude. You've got an awesome community going in your chat, dude.
Yeah, I tell people all the time, it's the community here that is, the main thing with this channel. It's not me, it's not the content. Like these guys are awesome. So I always commend them on that. So if you're not here for
All
me, at least come in and have a good conversation with these guys over here on the side.
right,
All right, man.
all
Well,
right,
thank
man.
you
Have a
again.
good night.
Appreciate you. Yep. All right, guys. So appreciate him. Be sure to jump over though, and I'm actually going to pull up the link, and it's in the description. It's been in the description all week, and I did the video earlier, I think Monday or Tuesday, announcing this. So most of you guys probably already jumped over there and subscribed, but I'm going to pull his channel up here so you guys don't even have to search it out because it's awesome. Like I watch his videos actually before bed just to wind down because if I'm gaming before bed, like I can't get to sleep. So I'll watch, like a documentary for like a half hour, kind of zone in on that. And then sometimes I do have to check it out the next morning to obtain all the information at the end. But great channel. Brain part there. Here we go. So hopefully I didn't drive all you guys crazy with 2 live streams this week because I've never done, well, I've done 2 in 1 week, but I've never had like guests and done this like, I don't know, podcast sort of format here. So here's the link here. And I can't pin that, but there you go. Beat me to it because I'm babbling. And my brain's a little bit fried because 2 live streams with guests. What'd you guys think of Tim yesterday? Definitely enjoyed the conversation there, learning about like what kind of goes on with the whole reality TV thing. Um, in addition to everything else that he's doing, he does a lot of stuff over there. Subbed, sweet. Good, good, good. Veto, that's all right. That's all right. No offense taken. No offense taken. So you liked Yahel though, right? I like this one a lot. I like this guest a lot. Um, awesome. Yeah. It's crazy what he's got for subscribers because he doesn't do like I think he took like 2 years off from YouTube. So to have him do so much, speaks volumes to the amount of or not the amount, but the type of content that he's putting out, the quality to it, quality over quantity. Whereas I'm just straight up quantity over here with like a video every day. Nice. Yeah, I agree. I agree. Retro Ralph was really a good one too. They're different though. Different guys, different sides of gaming, and then other components to it too. So yeah, I would say it's probably for me the same thing. It's between the two of them. There's that Michael Jordan behind me. Gotta love that I didn't even realize that we had the Space Jam up today. I think I just flipped that on before I jumped on here. I was so small on screen. Now I'm bigger on here and I'm seeing my background. So I actually put this, you guys can see it behind me. I have this light up WrestleMania marquee on here now. And I talked about this before, but I got the cheap version of the arcade one up that I used for that mod, and I'm still modding it. I didn't even mod it yet. I just did the graphics on it. I got to do that this weekend, hopefully. But the marquee is basically just like an empty shell. It's not an actual marquee, and they just put like a decal across it. So I was kind of bummed out. I just assumed it was going to be like the Blitz one that I converted into the Indiana Jones. So I was like, that's kind of lame because like when I dim the lights, like I did here in this video, you don't see it back there. So turns out I ordered a new marquee for the Indiana Jones one, and the company sent me 2 of the WrestleMania ones. And I was just looking for a decal for WrestleMania. So everything kind of got, mixed up. They are sending me the Indiana Jones one. And part of it was probably I wasn't that clear on what I needed to do and what I needed to order. But I got this marquee that didn't actually fit in here properly. And I had this idea to put like a LED backlight that mounts up against the knockoff sort of shitty marquee spot that they had on there by default. So I'm butchering this with my description. I have a video I'll put together for this once I get everything modded out. So I ended up just putting together this light up marquee from a couple LED products that I found on Amazon, and it came out pretty sweet. So this is the result here. You can see it, for how it shows up anyways. You'll see it in person or, you know, up close in that video. But yeah, you'll see what I'm talking about because I know that that was a terrible explanation. Still want to know what you started gaming on. What I started gaming on. The arcade. Like I grew up in the arcade playing arcade games, so that was my first exposure to video games. I think my first hmm, I think it was Cruis'n USA was my first it's my first memory of playing like in the arcade. I remember like barely being able to like having to like lay down on the chair to try to like hit the pedals and be able to steer. So yeah, Cruis'n USA is like my first memory of gaming, and that's probably why I gravitated towards N64 and Dreamcast because there were so many ports for those home consoles. Tim was interesting, but at first I thought he was the Grinch. Okay, I can see that, I guess. I thought he looked like Jeff Hardy a little bit, like just a little bit when I first saw him, and I've seen him for years on TV now. But you have a tutorial video for MAME on Batocera, right? Trying to get Gauntlet Legends and Killer Instinct 1 set up properly. I probably have something to like tweak settings. I don't know if I have like, I probably do. I have a lot of tutorial videos. Just search MAME and Batocera and Retro Gaming Guy and should come up, but I'm pretty sure I do have something for that. Um, it's pretty straightforward. I mean, it's not one of those where you have to do much with like BIOS and stuff like that. It's pretty straightforward. There's not like a lot of hidden settings that you have to or hoops you have to jump through to get that going on Batocera. Killer Instinct 1 is a tough one, and Gauntlet Legends, I'm not sure if I even have that on my Batocera setup. I think I have it for Dreamcast, which is comparable to the arcade version. I'll have to look into that more. Yeah, the early stuff was all fake though. Like I had a green screen and it was the dark background with the arcade cabinets was all just a backdrop that I put over a green screen. So now it's actually real back here. And yeah. And I did change my camera. I'm not sure how it shows up. Like I'm on everything today through StreamYard, so everything looks like really nice quality. But I know YouTube, like with 4K and stuff, it takes a while for it to actually show up on the YouTube end. So like I'll watch my streams like right after I stop doing them. Like I'll watch a little segment and it looks like terrible quality, and then like the next day it's better quality, which sucks for everybody that's tuning in watching shitty quality live. But it is what it is. That's a oh, that's a weird one to set up. There's a lot of steps in that one. I remember getting it, but it was one of those. I don't have any tutorials on Launchbox because I usually am just kind of figuring that out on the go. It's not my go-to for emulation. I just love Batocera. I know sometimes I'm the only one that feels that way about Batocera, but I like having that separate boot in. I don't like having to go through Windows, even though it is better for some things. But yeah, that emulator is picky. Xbox and Xbox 360, they're just not my favorite. Same. Yeah, I haven't tried that out yet either. It's just a lot of steps. Like once you get through it, I think you come away like, knowing what you need to do, but it's not like Batocera where you like literally, flash it to whatever you want to use it on, SSD, SD card, flash drive, whatever, set it up and you just have to drop your BIOS in and then you have to drop your ROMs in. Like it's that straightforward. I mean, some emulators you have to go in and tweak settings like the PS3 emulator, you have to do a lot of, individual tweaks for certain titles, but for the most part, you can get into the setup very easily without that, extra steps of setting up the actual emulators and all that stuff. Glad to hear it. Yeah, we always have I always say it. The community here and the chat is always awesome. Exactly. Yeah. So like that's the thing. Like if I have to go through like a million steps to set anything up, even if the end result is great, it's not something that I want to do. So it ends up, being something that I just don't get to, or I eventually just give up on it and go a different, easier route. Yeah, once you get it, it's not bad. There are tutorials out there, and thank you so much, Boss Red 357. Best retro handheld for PS2, GameCube, Xbox. You got to go with like a Steam Deck because like nothing from Ambernick's gonna be able to handle PS2. Like maybe you'll get something, but yeah, GameCube, PS2. PS2 has become much easier to get up and running on different devices. I won't say handheld specifically, but just in general, even mini PCs, like they're working now with things that they didn't used to work with. So it leads me to think that the emulator has, gone through some updates. I really haven't jumped into it that closely yet to figure out exactly why that is, but it is. So yeah, probably a Steam Deck or I mean, there's a few high end options, but Steam Deck I really do like for emulation. And you can use Batocera with that if you want to. For those collections, Xbox, a little dicey. The older Xbox titles work pretty well, but I'd say like Halo 1 and 2 work pretty well. Just things within like those years seem to work. Later releases for Xbox, or original Xbox, not so much. So, yeah, I'd probably say Steam Deck. I'm sure some other people here could, give you some other options as well, but that's what I'm most familiar with that would be able to handle all of that. Yeah, just being able to navigate things is tough. That's why, honestly, I mean, I can attribute my channel to a lot of that stuff. I mean, that's why the videos kind of work. They do help navigate a lot of things. I agree. Play Night is really underrated. It's one that I didn't even know about probably a year and a half ago or a year ago. But yeah, I actually used Play Night quite extensively on tomorrow's review video, which is going to be the Minis Forum NAB 9 mini PC, which I'll actually give you guys a link to right now so you know what's coming tomorrow. I have to finish, I think I finished all the editing on there. Maybe I have like 2 minutes left of editing, something like that, but I do have to do a thumbnail before tomorrow. Otherwise, I actually hoped to be able to provide you guys with links to that tonight, but of course I'm running behind on everything. But let me give you guys at least the links so you know what to expect for tomorrow. And it is just an absolute powerhouse. It uses an Intel processor, which initially I was like, I don't know if I'm going to be a fan of that, but the performance is phenomenal with it. It's not, the Elite Mini UM780 XTX right here that I gave away, but it's I'd say it's probably second place to that within the Minis Forum PC line. So check out that link right there. That'll take you over to Amazon where you can just, kind of comb through the specs if you're interested. But it'll be, I'll provide that link in tomorrow's video as well. And I'll probably put it out tomorrow night. Yeah, I'm going to check that out. I'm going to review that as well. And I will say I've talked about this in the past. I don't get a lot of stuff sent to me for free from companies. Like I like to be a paying customer and I like to be able to relay that experience back to you guys as a paying customer. But Minis Forum has been sending me, I think two PCs that, were the latest and greatest or whatever that they did send me to review. But yeah, I try to be a paying customer just to have that authentic experience. Like I'll tell you guys about this because I at this point don't give a shit. Camus, they make this racing wheel that a lot of YouTubers, I think they've sent it out to like all the big YouTubers in gaming, and I'm probably like, several tiers below the big guys, but they've sent it out to a lot of people, and it's a racing wheel and it seems awesome. In fact, I mean, I've tested out the wheel itself. However, it's not easily compatible with a lot of pedals. So I decided, let me go out and get the pedals from Camus, and I want to set them up with the wheel and see what the true experience is like, and then I'll do a video on the whole thing. And for them, it's like, you gave me the wheel, and I want to be a paying customer for like the $300 pedal board that comes with it. Like, I don't care. I'll pay the money, and I don't want special treatment as a YouTuber or anything. So I ordered that separate, and they sent me a bad brake. So the brake didn't work. So I tested everything out with using the clutch as the brake, which is awkward because the feedback on it sucks. Sucks as a brake, not sucks, as a pedal in general. So I've been going back and forth with them for like 2 months to get literally, I don't think I have it right here. Literally one little piece that was broken on it. In fact, this is what they sent me twice now from China. This double cable, which is the wrong cable. There's like 3 holes on this, and the right one would be 4, but it's built into the actual pedal. So I've been going back and forth with them for like 2 months now for a pedal set that I paid for as like a, an actual customer. So the point of this story is that I like being the paid customer because I can relay the experience back to people, without feeling like I'm, double crossing them, even though I'm not. So yeah, my review video on that, even if it's the best experience, is still going to have some negativity to it because the customer service is just a mess there. So yeah, that's the situation with that. So I've been tripping over this pedal set over here that doesn't work for 2 months, and still, this came the other day, and I'm still waiting to figure out what the solution is going to be. So we shall see. All right, guys. Well, I'm going to let you guys go. It's been, over 2 hours. So just looking at the live chat. Yeah, so I'm going to let you guys go. It's Friday night. Go do some fun stuff tonight. Watch a movie, do whatever you got to do, but you're going to get 6 more cables, Retro Gaming Guy. Probably, right? I mean, well, I already got 4, so if they send me another batch, we'll be at 6. So you're probably right about that. But yeah, so it makes me wonder, though. That's a good point, Derek. Like, customer service is super important. But what if I was a regular, like, they know me now because I had to tell them in order to even get a response. Hey, you guys sent me a wheel. You have somebody on your team that keeps emailing me asking me why I haven't done the review video. I haven't done the review video because I want to give you guys a better video by doing an all-inclusive sort of thing as like a paying customer too, because I bought the $300 pedals. So my response was, I'm a content creator and I have a YouTube channel. I want to do this review video for you, but I want to do it in a bigger, better way. That's going to benefit you guys. And you're working against the whole thing by not giving me the damn cables. I don't want my money back. I don't want free stuff. I just want the cables so I can use the damn thing the way it's intended to be used. So yeah, that's where we're at right now. It's a waiting game to see how they're going to fix the whole thing. But it does make you wonder, like, if I wasn't somebody that could say, I'm trying to do a review video with you, for you guys with whatever I have now, 88,000 subscribers, would they respond? Like, how would they treat just a regular person, that doesn't have all that? It's definitely concerning. Uh-oh. I haven't been following the prices this week. I actually bought some stock instead this week, so I've been following the stock market. Not that today was a great, at least my stocks, it wasn't a great day, but oh well. Yeah, it's unfortunate that some places don't have that great customer service, especially when you want to give them money for stuff, like as a paying customer too. So, oh well. All right, guys. Well, I'm going to take off. Thank you guys so much for the support on here. If you enjoyed the live stream, please give me a like somewhere on here. There's a like button. And if you haven't yet subscribed, you probably have if you're here. But if you haven't, hit subscribe. But I will see you guys tomorrow with that review video. It'll be coming out tomorrow night, probably 8 p.m. And that is the link right here. So, all right. Take care, guys. Thank you guys so much. As always, I'll see you guys tomorrow.